Call it all for nothing, but I'd rather be nothing to you than be a part of something that I didn't do. I can be the only one who can be the best to you, be the best to you. Do you really want to? I can be the only one who can be the best to you, be the best to you.
Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the History Boys Abroad podcast. My name is Graham and I'm here as always with my co-host Tony.
How you doing?
I'm getting that really down and it's just flows off my tongue.
We should just record that and just play it at the start because it's the same every time. You're pretty boring.
I could just kind of in the number, it'd be like episode 18.
Yep.
And so on, yeah. Because of doing this research for this episode, I got so down kind of hearted I didn't even have the desire to make up research a fun fact about the number of the episodes. So we don't have any episode 16 fun facts unless you've researched one.
Nah, not at all. Nah, that's your thing.
Let's just ditch that. Ditched. So on the 13th of December, Friday the 13th of December 2002, the fourth round draw was made for the UEFA Cup. The full draw was as follows. Slavia Prague were drawn against Besiktas, Hertha Berlin got Boavista, Malaga got AK Athens, Lazio Wisla Krakow, Anderlecht Panathinaikos, Celtic versus VfB Stuttgart, Porto versus Denizlispor, and Auxerre versus Liverpool. So that was us into maybe not the creme de la creme of the second tier of European football. What is under the cream of the cream? Is it like the milk of the milk?
Potentially, aye. The poop
so
of the
milk
poop.
of the milk.
Yeah.
So, and switch that to 2003. We go into February, 20th of February, and we welcome Stuttgart to Celtic Park.
VfB, or as you said, VfB, Stuttgart to Celtic
exactly.
Park. Quite an interesting game because Celtic were not only a man up within the first 20 minutes, they were also a goal down within the first 20 minutes. So Marcelo Bordon, who was a defender, I think, a Brazilian guy with a ridiculously shite goatee, got sent off for a red card. He got, I think it was a straight red, a potential straight red, I can't remember. He got sent off in the 17th minute. That sort of freed up some space for Celtic. However, we go a goal down to Stuttgart. Kevin Kurani, who was actually quite a good striker, who went on to play for, I think he played for Dynamo Moscow, and I think we probably played him again when we played, I'm sure we played Dynamo Moscow. It was one of the, I'm sure he played against us when we played Dynamo Moscow under Tony Mowbray, maybe.
Yeah, I think he had a lot of potential, but he took like the money instead of following the kind of career progression. I think he was getting like 90 grand a week at Dynamo Moscow or something like that. So.
Aye. Well, it's funny you should say that because, in the last episode you brought up the point that Celtic were facing teams that were on the up. Like, we sort of faced a team that after this season or before this season weren't doing so good. It seems like Stuttgart, under Felix Magath, took this Stuttgart team to second in the Bundesliga at the end of this season that we're talking about. So by the end of 2003, the Bundesliga, Bayern were the winners, and then Stuttgart came second, which was like a kind of a surprise. They had players like Bordon, Alexander Kleb, they had Kurani, they had they had quite a lot of decent players. Timo Hildebrand was playing. They also had Andreas Hinkel playing.
Andy Hinkle.
They had
mediocre Andy Hinkle.
Yeah, they had Andy Hinkle playing for them, but I think they were known, they had a name as like the Wild Young Ones or something like that, because they were quite a young and up and coming team. They were like known as the Junge Wilder or something like that in German, but anyway. So Celtic go a goal down at home. The team for that night, to take you through the team, we had Douglas, McNamara, Baldy, Valharin, Agat, Lambert, Lennon, Petrov, Thompson, Sutton and Maloney. But it's not until... just to give a bit more knowledge on their goal, as I say, they were a man down, but they still managed to have a lot of space in and around their box, and to the point they were sort of knocking the ball around without too much pressure. And the ball comes to a guy Balakov, and he's got the time to look up, and Karanyi is pointing to where he wants the ball, and this guy Balakov has the time, the style, and he's just wandering around there. There's no pressure on him at all. Whips the ball in, Karanyi jumps up. Valharin, he completely outmuscles Valharin and knocks it in. It's a really, really good goal, to be honest, and that's Celtic 1-0 down and losing at home, which isn't very good. But then we have Paul Lambert, who steps up to the plate, club captain and whatnot. He'd been rested prior to these games. He'd been in and out the team, but he was still the club captain, so he comes in. And to be honest, it's not a goal that's talked about that often, but it's one of my favourite goals in the entire run to Seville. Do you remember the goal?
Yep.
Fantastic. We should point out, Martin O'Neill was in the stands for this game, as was Henrik Larsson, who a couple of days before this had his jaw broken in two places by a big guy called Gus Bahoken against Livingston.
Or as we called him, Marvin Andrews.
Aye. Everyone seemed to think it was Marvin Andrews, but it was Gus Bahoken.
But it was just racism instead.
Right. Anyway, so John Hartson was also missing as well, but Sean Maloney has a free kick on the left-hand side of the 18-yard line, whips it in, the ball sort of breaks free, breaks to McNamara, who whips it back in. Sean Maloney's found himself in the middle of the box, and it's a great pass by McNamara, and Maloney, for all his size and strength, shields the ball down, chests it down to Lambert, who drills the ball diagonally across the box that past the goalkeeper into the opposite corner. Training ground, spectacular, absolutely fucking great goal. And you see Martin O'Neill in the stands going absolutely fucking tonto. It's absolutely brilliant. So that's us. That's us, one each. Then the second goal was actually before half time, and it's scored by Sean Maloney. He's deputising essentially for Larsson or even Hartson, but yeah, he's playing there. It's quite a lucky goal, to be honest. The ball is booted into the box. One of their defenders tries to clear it and just sort of knocks the ball into the path of Maloney, who sort of scuffs the ball into the corner and off he's running. Not a bad goal, but that's us into half time in 2-1. Not a bad turnaround considering we were losing 20 minutes prior to that. And the third goal was also quite fortuitous because there's quite a nasty tackle on Alan Thompson, and he's actually lying on the ground at the side. And it probably should, I don't know, obviously we go on and we score from it, so the advantage was played, but he was like decked, and so much so that the Stuttgart player was holding up his hands and like making sure he was okay. But he managed to get the ball away in time, back to Lennon. Lennon passed it to Petrov, who starts and ends this move. Now, when you watch this back, it's pure lauded as an amazing finish by the commentary team, but the goalkeeper was really bad, in my opinion. Timo Hildebrand, who was quite a talented goalkeeper at one point, played for Germany and stuff like that. The ball was like sort of pinged around, and you see it's great play. I think it's Sutton gives the ball to Lambert. I'm sounding like the commentary we're going to use later on. This Sutton picks it, but we're not talking about that game just yet. You see Lambert has the patience, and he holds the ball, and then Petrov makes that run. He started the move, Petrov, and he ends the move, and he sort of breaks through and slots it in from a ridiculous angle. But again, the goalkeeper, I don't know, his positioning was terrible. But that's it, 3-1 to Celtic. Petrov scores a goal that seems to be one of the most famous goals that he feels like he scored, according to the press clippings and stuff that I've got here.
That team was picked apart, I think. I mean, like Timo Hildebrand, he ended up at Valencia, wasn't it? And then Hinkle went to Sevilla.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Kleb went to Arsenal. Obviously, I think Balakov was near retirement at that point. What a player he was. And then obviously Karanyi, Moscow. So I mean, they kind of didn't hold on to them for very long.
As I say, they had a good squad at that time. They finished second in the Bundesliga. To think that we put teams out that finished second in the Bundesliga, we battered teams from the best leagues. Obviously, we don't play any teams from Italy. However, we batter a team from Germany. We batter two teams from England. We batter a team from Spain. And things in between, and we batter Boavista, a team from Portugal. It's just the final Portuguese wankers that sort of why we're talking about this, I guess.
Don't want to talk about it.
No, we don't want to talk about it. But yeah, Sean Maloney stepped up to the plate, and this was kind of him making his mark. Obviously, later on, when we talk about the final, he has that free kick that people sort of bashed him for, but it was a good result for Celtic, and that's us into getting into the second leg, which you're going to talk about in a second, with a 3-1 advantage. A very, very good squad, and a lot of belief and a lot of spirit, and you seem to think taking a 3-1 lead away. It's not. I mean, it is pretty good 2-goal cushion, but they have the away goal, so there is that feeling of is it going to happen? So what have you got?
Especially when we got was it Basel? That was the same result at Basel, wasn't it? So,
yeah, exactly.
Free kick. Swings it in. It needed just a little graze off the top of the head there. It would have gone in. There's a great shot. Oh, great goal. Superb strike there. Paul Lambert ranting it into the back of the net. Well, I've seen him score 1 or 2 stunners in my day, but that's as good as you could get. 1 each it is now. Celtic pulling themselves back from a situation that was getting very, very nervy, and that is the way to soothe nerves. Look at this man. Up he goes. Just about a couple of minutes to the halftime whistle. Well, totally missed that time by Gleb. Agat really has been immense, dragging defenders in his wake. Thompson, that's a decent enough ball. Maloney with a chance. He's done it. Maloney puts Celtic in the lead after a terrible blunder, right in the heart of the defence. He hit the ball into the ground. He didn't hit it all that cleanly, but it didn't matter at the end of the day, and how vital it is to score a goal and send the opponent scurrying up the tunnel to half-time with only seconds remaining.
Yeah, we see it coming from a wide area. Again, very important that we get the balls wide to Thompson. Agat's done a lot of damage on the right-hand side. They have looked nervous since the start of the game. Bad clearance, and the ball breaking to young Sean into the ground, getting a bit of luck. But 2-1 Celtic, and I did mention that it'd be good to go in ahead, but if it was 1 each, that would have been a decent result as well. But fantastic to get ahead in the tie, and I think there's more goals to come.
Valhalla looks as if he fancies coming forward as often as he can now. Valhalla, got to be careful though. Petrov wanted to play the little 1-2 there. That's a good run by Petrov. Got in behind the defence. It's in. An astonishing goal by Petrov. From an almost impossible angle. A brilliant run into the penalty area. And would you really, from that angle, have bet on him scoring?
Yeah, well, the goalkeeper getting caught out, but there we see the patience. Celtic building up the play, and then Paul Lambert finds the opening with a great pass to Stilling Petrov, and he goes near post. The keeper obviously thinks he's going to square it across the 6-yard box, but catching the keeper out on his near post. 3-1 Celtic, and that's Celtic in the driving seat now.
So a week later, we take apparently 10,000 fans to the Gottlieb Daimler or something stadium in Stuttgart. The team that we have playing is Douglas, Owen Lawson, Josef O'Haran, Bob Balde, Didier Agat, Paul Lambert, Alan Thompson, Neil Lennon, Stellan Petrov, Chris Sutton and John Hartson. Obviously Larson is still out injured. The fact is that Larson was out injured for several weeks in the middle of the season there, but he still managed to get 44 goals that season. It's just remarkable, man. So, exciting start to the game. We score 2 goals in 3 minutes, 12th minute and the 15th minute, but in fact we could have actually been 1 or 2 goals down by the time we got that first goal. They had a couple of chances, went right through on the goalkeeper from the right hand side and hit the side net, and And yeah, we looked a bit shaky. But then there's a long ball goes up to Sutton. He cushions this header brilliantly down to John Hartson. John Hartson kind of gathers it in, plays it out to Gat, who crosses it in back to Hartson. It's a kind of like elongated 1-2.
Yeah.
Hartson nods it on towards the back post, and Alan Thompson comes in with a diving header. Don't know if you remember this goal, diving header at the far post.
It's funny because it was on Alan Thompson's favoured. I'll get into trouble for saying that because he only has one left foot. He's the only left foot. His strongest foot is his left foot, and it comes there. And he could have bust the net if he hit the ball because it was at that height, and it's very, very low when he goes down to header it. But he puts it in the corner, and it's a very, very good finish. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's us 4-1 up in aggregate. That's their away goal cancelled out, and they're kind of on the ropes at this point. So a few minutes later, just watching the highlights of this. Just seeing how well Hartson can bring in the ball, like it's amazing. It reminded me like watching Dembele yesterday in the Aberdeen game, just the way that he was bringing the ball into his feet and then moving it on from there. It's really good to see. We've not had that at Celtic for a long time. So he gets the ball about the halfway line. He plays it out to Agat. Agat has a wonderful quick 1-2 with Sutton, and then I think every Celtic fan will remember this, that after Burners goes on, and he. As I said to you in a text earlier, I've never seen anyone outpaced like that. I mean, he took about 5 or 6. He gave him about 2 yards, and then he ended up about 5 yards past him, and that was Wenzel, Fensel, who had the face mask on. You remember that? Phantom of the Opera shit.
Aye. Like he got absolutely roasted, no question. But when you see it up close and you see the guy, he's obstructed. He's got a face mask on. You're like, But anyway, absolutely roasted. And then obviously the ball goes into the box. The perfect pass. It has to be said.
And like Agat was. I mean, it's always a case of people don't really know what they've got until they lose it. I mean, I think I probably came up with that quote right there. But when it comes to Agat, he get like abused week in, week out for his delivery. But that's twice in a few minutes. He was spot on with his delivery. You know what I mean? Like right in the head of Hartson the first time, and right in the foot of Sutton the second time. So it was brilliant from Agat. He really won us that tie early on by doing that. And one of the things that I would say would be that if it wasn't for that, obviously you can say, if it wasn't for the goals, we wouldn't have won. But I think that really sucker punched Stuttgart for a long time. And if it wasn't for the fact that we got those early goals, I could really see us being in trouble over there, because they started to play, and they started to play really well, like fucking incisive, quick passing right through the heart of our team. And I mean, their goal comes is quite fortuitous in that Alan Thompson is off injured, and they whip in. It's in the 38th minute. They whip in a ball to the back post where Alan Thompson should be marking, but obviously he's not in the park, and it's an easy tap in. It's quite funny. Christian Tiffert scores a goal, and like Robert Douglas does this comedy dive the total opposite way of the way the ball goes. You know, like it goes to the right of Douglas, and Douglas dives to the left.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a foreboding. Kind of, we should have seen at that point get Javier Sanchez-Barreto in the team.
Yeah.
And then we actually do well in the second half. We go 30 minutes without conceding another goal, but when we do, we get our bums felt, man. It's like Pleb 1-2 flicks it past someone and then just batters it past Douglas. And then the 87th minute, another great move through the middle of the park. Pleb plays a through ball when his name is Mutzel, finishes it. And just after we kick off again in the 87th minute, they actually go through and goal. But Douglas actually gets out quicker than their attacker. If that ball had gone in, then they would have needed one goal in like 6 minutes, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I remember being devastated at the time because it was a big thing. We had never won in Germany, and I thought, okay, we're going to go through, but not just that, we're going to fucking win in Germany. So at that point, I was like, going through was kind of behind. It was like I kind of took that for granted, and I just wanted us to win in Germany as well. So I was a bit disappointed that we didn't, but then obviously you're like, fuck it, we're through. And that's us into the last eight for the first time in 23 years. Just looking at some of the back pages of the papers, there's a kind of Ian King with his great journalism. he's got a bit of a mixed metaphor here. He says the roadrunner got his skates on. Surely if you're a roadrunner you don't need anything else. But yeah. And he also said, so this is basically not the headline, but like the kind of paragraph, the first paragraph in the article. Boss Martin O'Neill hailed his side for seeing off Stuttgart and then admitted the team who could benefit most from the glory might be Rangers. So Celtic have just fucking get into the quarterfinals of the UEFA Cup and the paper running basically a story that we could be benefiting Rangers.
Yeah, sounds about right. As we said in the last one, when you go back and all these newspaper clippings are there for everyone to see, is like Keith Jackson reporting live from a Porto gym trainer in Stuttgart. It's like, you fucking bastards.
Aye, and this story was actually Ian King and Bill Leckie, so it was like a double fucking...
Mark Guidi, Gordon Waddle, just horrible.
I met Ian King once, and there was him and a few other guys were talking about Hugh Keevins, and Hugh Keevins wasn't in the room, and so I don't know what it was they were talking about, but someone basically asked if Hugh Keevins was a member of something, and Ian King says, "Hi, he's a member, all right."
He's a weapon.
He's a member and a weapon. So that was the only time that I thought, that was quite good, Ian King. So yeah, so that was us by Stuttgart, and that we already knew before that Liverpool were going to be the ones awaiting the next round. But before we do that, we're just going to have a little story of the second leg from my brother David.
So this is my story about Stuttgart. It's not really much of a story, but I'll tell you anyway. So get a ticket to go to Stuttgart, very happy. Billy organises the flights, etc. All the travel, the hotel and stuff, and we just stump him up the money. So we got a flight from Glasgow to London to Stansted, and then from Stansted to Zurich. So we got the flight from Glasgow to Stansted, that was no bother. Got to Stansted, checked in for the connecting flight, and they had no record of me. They had a record of everyone else, but not me. So say to the guy, need to fly out today, so he checks my name and he says, "Oh, you're booked on a flight tomorrow." Billy had made an arse of putting the dates in when he booked the flights, because I booked after everybody else. So I'm in Stansted and I need a flight, and I've got only my spending money. So we all have to we don't all have to, but the guys are good enough to stump up. I think it was me, Martin, Billy and John Jackson. And we all stumped up 4 ways for a flight for me to Stuttgart. So that was the first wee drama. So we get to we get to Zurich. Magnificent airport, down to get the train underneath the airport. Trains that go all over Europe. Getting pissed in the train as you do on the way to Stuttgart. And we're playing cards with these porn cards. So they're playing away with these porn cards, and then the next minute the conductor's come up and he's looked at it and he's just horrified, looked at us and kept walking on with this look of terror in his face. Never bothered checking our tickets or anything. Get to Stuttgart, check into the hotel, changed, out for the night. We go to the few bars drinking, and into this Irish bar and we meet Father Jerry McNellis. So we're sitting drinking with Father Jerry for ages, and then it comes to the point where I'm just gibbering. So I go up the road, get a good night's sleep, up for the game the next day. Everybody's up for the game. We get into the square, a big massive square, everybody's congregated, drinking there all day. Tell Martin to go and get a carry out for us. He comes back with elephant beer. I think it was Carlsberg elephant beer. It's like 8% beer. I'm like, great, that's going to do as well for the day. All the beers he could get, he comes back with this strong Danish stuff. Big banner out, just a party atmosphere. But it's some day in the square, everybody playing football getting kicked up in the air. Met John Higgins, picture taken with John Higgins, the snooker player. Train to the game, underground. Few stops. It's crammed, absolutely packed. So it stops at this stop, and I go to step back onto the platform to let somebody out, and there was a bag behind me, right at my feet, and I didn't know, so I've tripped over this bag backwards, fell onto the platform, Train's just about, the doors are about to shut, everybody's dragging me back onto this train. So that was funny as well. Get to the stadium, absolutely busting on, but we still want to drink, so we're getting drinks in. Martin goes up and gets drinks. Instead of coming back with the strongest lager he could find this time, all the sale in the stadium's non-alcoholic beers, so he comes back with these non-alcoholic beers. They were pretty rotten. The game passed me by in a blur. Can remember celebrating the goals. Everybody to a man was standing on their seats. But as each Celtic goal went in, every time a Celtic goal went in, I fell, decked it, head first onto the concrete. Every time Billy had to haul me back up. Fair play to Billy, he looked after me on that trip because I was an absolute liability. So, a wee bit bruised and battered with the game. I can't even remember what we did after the game, man. Just remember waking up during the night and reaching out for a bottle of water. Opens this bottle of water and takes a big glug, and it's sparkling water, man. Nearly made me throw up. Disgusting. So that's really my story about my trip to Stuttgart. Great trip. Can't really remember a lot of it. Great result. Good times. Enjoyed it. Bye bye.
13th of March 2003, we took on Liverpool at home. The Celtic team lined up that day. It's a bit weird saying the team all the time because Martin O'Neill didn't like to change much in his team, but at this point, Jamie Smith actually comes in. So It's Douglas, Mialbi, Balde, Valharin, Smith, Lennon, Petrov, Sutton, Thompson, Larson, first game back, and Hartson.
Well, you say about there is some rotation because players like Momo Silla and players like Maloney come in and make Ulrich Larsson also, make some positive cameos throughout this run.
Yeah, I think Martin O'Neill was always a manager that kind of he trusted about 14 players and he stuck with them unless there was injuries. I mean, one of the big, when a manager leaves, there's always a part of you that thinks, okay, it's good because of this. I remember me and my friends talking about it when Martin O'Neill left. It was like, it was good because maybe we'll give more youth a try. You know what I mean? Like maybe we'll. And he was always kind of never really into that. The Liverpool team that we played that day was Dudek, Carragher, Hippier, Traore, Risa, Murphy, Gerrard, Hamann, Eld, Hajford, Michael Owen, and Heskey. It
has to be said that's a very, very good side.
Aye. Apart from Murphy, who does my head in with his fucking co-commentary, man.
But he was a good player in his day.
Aye.
When he was an England international, he was quite good. It was a good side. We were up against a good side, and we were certainly the underdogs in this game, which kind of benefits Celtic in Europe, probably.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at that spine, so through the centre, you've got Carrick and Hippie at central defence, Gerrard and Didi Hamann central midfield, and Owen and Heskey up front. Aye. So what a spine that is. One of the kind of I don't know how you felt about this at the time, but it was the cringiest fucking moment. As one of the moments as a Celtic fan was the joint "You'll Never Walk Alone" between Celtic and Liverpool fans.
Aye, I don't like your version. It's too fast.
Like fucking what's Jerry? What's his name? Jerry Marsden.
Jerry. No, not Jerry. Jerry from Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Aye. He was just going. I think he was actually going too slow. And all the fans were out of speed with him. It was just fucking weird, man.
It was all a bit of a living, a bit of a circle tug thing going on because the fans have some supposed connection. Although I take great pleasure in seeing Liverpool lose.
I really try to get an English team, but I just can't do it. Something about that.
It's difficult to attach yourself to something when you feel so strongly about Celtic.
Aye, and just strongly that the league is like so. What'd you call it?
Morally bankrupt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we battered Liverpool for the first few minutes of the game. Hartson hits the bar after 16 seconds, and then 2 minutes in, Thompson plays it across the kind of face of the goal, and Larsson's there to knee it in. One of the things that I noticed when we're watching this back is just the movement of Larsson. See when he sees that there's a chance that Thompson is going to get the ball across to him, he totally withdraws from the player that he's standing beside.
Yeah.
So when you actually watch Larsson, he'll stand beside the defender until the second where he thinks there's a chance, and then he moves away. So I think he made the defender think that the defender had him, but the last second he would take a few steps back and just he was there to get the finish. Yeah. And it's fucking brilliant movement, man. It's really, really cool. So after that, we looked very nervous. I remember at the game just thinking we're not in this at all. It felt quite a bit like the Blackburn the home game. We did have another chance later in the second half, but that was after Emil Heskey had scored the equaliser about 18 minutes into the game. So he was played kind of wide of the box and he fired it right across the face of the goal into the bottom corner. Really good finish, probably the only good finish of Emil Heskey's career. And after that, there's actually a bit written in one of the articles, or I think maybe on the Celtic Wiki, that at one point Jimmy Traoré heads the ball out of defence and it lands, and there's not like a Celtic midfielder within 15 metres of the ball. So we're just totally like our midfield just sitting back. We're just totally not at the races at all.
Yeah.
We have a chance, as I said. Larsson gets played through just at the start of the second half, but he just can't get there in time. Dudek comes out, clears the ball, and then the game just peters out for Celtic. The only flashpoint is towards the end of the game where El Hadji spits on a Celtic fan. So that kind of overshadowed the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like the kind of research or the kind of examination of the game was overshadowed by the fact that El Hadji did that, which kind of would have let the players off a bit, because I think if it wasn't for that, maybe the press would have been looking at Celtic players a bit and saying like, why didn't you turn up? Having said that, one of the headlines I saw on the paper said, what was it? Celts make a meal of it. Emil like Heskey. Celts make a meal of it. But there was also one about Larsson that says he came, he jaw, he conquered.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean that's all right. And there's a quote from Martin O'Neill after the game. He says, "We're still very much in this tie. It looks like we'll have to win at Anfield, but why not? And
That's
why
right.
not indeed?"
Prophetic words.
Sila. Larsson couldn't make it stick, but he was being fouled, and Celtic have a free kick. And this could be Alan Thompson territory.
That's a good decision from the referee. You can see it right away. Henrik Larsson. It's a good ball from Momo Silla, and Larsson was pulled back by Traoré. What a good time to stick the ball in the back of the net.
It's right of centre, and Alan Thompson immediately positions himself as if to say, this is mine, I fancy this one. And he will certainly want to be testing out Jerzy Dudek as the first half comes to a close. Tense moments off the pitch and on it. Nearly 45 minutes played. Thompson! Celtic are ahead! Right on half-time! The deadly left foot of Alan Thompson does it! It's 2-1 on aggregate. Celtic ahead.
That's just what Celtic need. It's a marvellous strike from Alan Thompson. Dudek will be disappointed with his wall. The ball's going right through the wall, but Alan Thompson doesn't care about that. Martin O'Neill doesn't care about that. It's a good strike. It's underneath the wall, and it's right in the corner, giving the goalkeeper absolutely no chance whatsoever.
Jerzy Dudek stretched his arms wide as if to say... Almost still up for Henrik Larsson. Can he get control? Can he score? Disappointed with himself.
He's so unlucky. It's a marvellous ball from Momo Silla. Larsson staying on side. It's a good first touch, hard ball to take down, but this is where he's unlucky. It's good defending, and that time just didn't get the break, didn't get the second touch on target.
It was always going to be an awkward one to convert that for Henrik Larsson, and out came Dudek to cut down his options. Lennon. Mjalby has a look at what's on, lofts it forward for his countryman Larsson, and that's not a bad effort from Paul Lambert. Less than fully fit Lambert, but not a bad strike.
It's a good effort, but if he just looks here, John Hartson's on his left hand side, acres of space. It's different if the ball ends up in the back of the net, but John Hartson won't be too happy with Paul Lambert there.
Thompson kept it in. Well, he's going to get a yellow card, Alan Thompson. Not for this one particularly, but for a series of offences. It's yellow for Thompson.
There's been a few, just a fraction late here. Heskey gets to the ball first. Alan makes contact with him. Tackle from the back. Easy one for the referee.
That's Larson's header! Touched over the top by Dudek. Good reactions. It was a clever header.
It's a great corner kick. Lots of pace in the ball. What a flick from Henrik Larsson. Lob off his shoulder and Jerzy Dudek having to stretch to get a touch to that one.
When I said it was a clever header, it was so clever it was his shoulder.
I bet you both would think it was a good save from the keeper. There's no way that
goals in his time, including a couple of European Cups and the UEFA Cup as well, alongside Gerard Houllier. Hartson, the 1-2 with Larsson. John Hartson lines up the shot! John Hartson with the goal, which surely takes Celtic to the UEFA Cup semi-finals. A wonderful strike. Celtic now, surely out of sight.
That's magnificent. It's the only way you can describe that. John Hartson should have had a free kick a few seconds ago, but didn't worry about that. That's great play with Larsson. Only one thought in his mind here: I'm going to stick this in the back of the net. And he does that so well. He keeps his head down, he strikes through the ball, lots of power on it, and whack. Dudek, absolutely no chance of getting anywhere near that one.
He did well to get a good view of this Jerzy Dudek. It was struck with such power, reminiscent of the one which beat Stefan Klos in the Old Firm match recently. And what a... Celtic are through to the semi-finals of the UEFA Cup with another outstanding performance, masterminded by Martin O'Neill. Alan Thompson scored at the end of the first half. John Hartson thumped in the second to make sure that Celtic were heading to their first European semi-final in nearly 30 years. The last time it was the European Cup, they lost to Atletico Madrid. That was 1974. The record books have been rewritten here on Merseyside. Liverpool aren't used to losing on their home patch.
So that takes us into the 20th of March, which is the second leg of the UEFA Cup. It should be pointed out, Liverpool won the UEFA Cup 2 years before this, and they won the Champions League 2 years after this. So
that was the time. Was it the game against Alaves where they won like 5-4 or something?
Aye, that's the one. 2001. That's the very one. So, like, my overriding memory of the game was it was like, although we won, the game was quite even. The stats were quite similar. We didn't have. I think we maybe had like one or two more shots off target than them, but overall everything was quite even. I think Celtic were only given 2,700 tickets, but you know that's never really the case. I think thousands and thousands went down because it's a short journey, and obviously it's Anfield, and it's a chance to progress to the next round. And we're in March, and we're still in Europe. This just never really happens. It doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
This was Celtic when we won 2-0. This was the 50th game in a row we'd scored a goal in a game, so there's a little stat for you. And as you pointed out, they had players like Hamann, Schmeiser, however you pronounce it, Dudek, Heskey, Michael Owen. And at the start of that week, on the 20th of March, at the start of the week, England had 4 teams in Europe, and by Friday morning, 3 of them were knocked out.
Huh.
So Newcastle, Arsenal and Liverpool were knocked out, and I think only Manchester United stayed in the Champions League. And as the press and other people like to do, they like to class the game as the Battle of Britain. Now, they said the same about the Blackburn game, but we talked about how Blackburn is just a nothing place. It's not really. Liverpool are a genuine world football giant, so you could give them that one. But it's ironic really that an Englishman, a Welshman and a Northern Irishman dispatched an English team. And we spoke about Scottish football having this certain reputation as being like the little ugly brother, whereas the EPL is just flooded with cash, flooded with talent, and yet we go down there and we give them a black eye and we stick a finger up to them. Mm-hmm. So we know how the goals go. Alan Thompson's free kick, I guess he knew that the wall were going to jump, because They lines up, and it's right in the Kop end as well, which is, for some reason, the Kop has this mad special vibe about it. I don't really know, I don't really believe it, and I don't really think it's true. But he has the free kick, and 5 or 6 players in the wall all jump in unison, and he just drills the ball along the ground into the right-hand side corner of Dudek. Dudek doesn't move at all. Dudek is stuck to the ground. 1-0 to Celtic, and that makes it 2-1 in aggregate, which means they have to score. They now have to score a goal. I should also say that before this, Larsson had a chance. People don't really talk about Larsson's ability with free kicks, but he could hit a decent free kick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, looking at his YouTube clips or whatever, then he scored a decent free kick, but there was plenty where
I think that's the case.
He hit the ball.
But my point here is that he was more than just your average striker, obviously.
He was the best man that ever existed, so yeah.
There is that, but like, he could score a wide variety of goals. Like, he was just not your average guy that would jump in the box and score 25 goals a season. He could score free kicks, he could score tap-ins, he could score penalties, he could score left, he could right. He was fast, he was skillful, he could pass, he was amazing. I'll tell you about the team. A couple of changes. We have Douglas, Mialbi, Baldi, Vilharen, Silla, Lennon, Lambert, Petrov, Thompson, Larsson and Hartson. Silla was good in this game.
That was Silla's best performance in the Celtic.
Silla was good. He was quite an unorthodox style player. He's kind of gangly on the ball.
He didn't know where he was going.
He didn't really know what he was doing half the time, but in this game it seemed to work.
My mate played for the kind of St Johnstone youth team, and he said that Momo Silla, he said, some guys have length, some guys have girth. Momo has it both.
Is that an exclusive, a History Boys Abroad exclusive?
It is. Momo is hung like a bastard. So.
Right, okay, interesting. But we matched Liverpool in this game. We were quite aggressive. We probed them. We didn't look like an inferior team, and we were in complete control. I think Martin O'Neill's influence in this game, he had us in complete control. The reason I want to say that is because a few days prior to this, we actually lost the CIS final, I think it was, against Rangers. I'm pretty sure John Hartson missed a penalty in that game. We lost 2-1. One of the many finals that we lost this fucking season. So for Hartson to bounce back and score the goal that he did after the performance a few days before that, we should actually look this up, how many games Celtic played this season, because we were fighting fires in 4 fronts. I know we get put out maybe the Scottish Cup very early or something like that. Obviously the league, the CIS Cup and the UEFA Cup. We must have played so many games, and that's something I want to talk about when we talk about the current stuff. Celtic are playing an awful lot of games just now, but Hartson's goal again, the 1-2 with Larsson was just amazing. Breeze's pass Didi Haman like he's not there, and that fucking finish in the celebration is just wild stuff. Absolutely wild stuff. Hartson's actually a fucking Liverpool fan. Do you know that?
Is that right?
He says in the post-match interviews, he's like, to score at Anfield's a dream. I was a Liverpool fan as a wee boy. But I want to read a quote from... We're using some audio when we can get it, but I'm finding quotes elsewhere. I want to read a quote out regarding what was done in the dressing room, and it's from Neil Lennon's book. He says, everyone had predicted our demise, but at that point Martin showed his mettle. In the dressing room before the match, he gave us an unforgettable talk. I personally do not think we needed much motivation, as we were all sure of ourselves and positives that we could compete and get a result. Yet Martin's words inspired us to even greater heights of determination. He looked around the dressing room and pointed out young Sean Maloney. This is a European Cup quarter-final. This is a European quarter-final, and this boy is only 19, but he might never get this opportunity again. He looked around at the older guys and added, you guys in your 30s probably won't get the opportunity again to prove a point, to prove to England and prove to Europe that you deserve respect and that you're worthy of respect and that you are worthy of a place in the semi-finals. He made his points tellingly in his usual manner and did so in 2 or 3 minutes, yet by the time he had finished we were ready to go out and run through brick walls if we needed to. Storky alert.
I've always heard that kind of team talk was like monumental, but I'd never heard any details. I'd never read that book, so that is amazing, man.
Storky material. But that's that. So we go to Anfield and we win convincingly with two good goals.
I remember I was in my parents' house watching it, and I'd never sat down in the seat until after the second goal went in. I'd never been so nervous watching a football match in my life. I was standing at the back of the room. I just couldn't sit at peace. I think from somebody confirms it in feedback we're going to talk about in a minute, that the tickets for the final had just gone on sale, and I wasn't confident. Like, see, after the 1-1 at Celtic Park, I thought we were out. Like, everyone that I knew was like, no, we're going to get put out. I mean, there's no chance. So I was one of the ones that didn't try for the fucking neutral tickets for the final. And I should have at the time, but it was such a surprise that game at Anfield. No one could see that coming. Yeah, people stood up and took notice of Celtic after that because we were there and we beat them. It was the first time in 26 games in Europe that a team had scored 2 goals at Anfield, and the last team to do it was Barcelona. So 26 games, people had only scored 0 or 1. We rock up and give them a black eye. Right.
2 goals. It's actually the first game Martin O'Neill ever won at Anfield. You know, he was there as a manager with Leicester 4 times, but he hadn't ever won any games. Celtic were described as playing with inspiration and perspiration, just like dogged performance, outdoing Liverpool all over the pitch.
I thought from start to finish we really started well. You know, we was on the front foot early on, and Michael Owen and Molesky, they're 2 of the best in Europe, and we limited them to very few chances tonight. So, we've scored the goals, but I thought the back 4 again was superb.
The free kick started the damage. Was there any sense of good fortune? Because the wall did seem to jump.
Well, I don't know. I just went to get it on target, Sometimes the keeper saves and luckily it's gone in and we're just delighted,
Well, if there's some good fortune about your goal, there was none about yours. What a strike. You've scored some goals in your time, but nothing quite as important as that, has there?
I don't think so. I missed an important penalty on Sunday, which obviously I was absolutely devastated for the fans. Last kick of the game. So obviously that goal tonight, hopefully that makes up for it a little bit, But I was pleased. As soon as you hit them, it's one of them, you probably hit 1 or 2 of them in your career. So obviously I'm delighted to get it here. I supported Liverpool as a kid, so it's great to get it here at Anfield,
So I'm going to look at the Twitter and email feedback, and I put it into sections after the ties, obviously. So we're going to look now at the Stuttgart and Liverpool feedback. The first one is from Chris, who is at Chris1888, and he's actually written a book on Seville. Is it From Seville to Sevilla? Yeah. So if you feel like picking it up, go for it. And he says, beating Stuttgart 3-1 at home gave me the fear. Couldn't get past that being the same score as Basel until Didier ravaged them in the opening 15 minutes over there. Tie was called off there and then. And we got an email from Lawrence, and he said, lads, after the Stuttgart game I bought 6 tickets for the final from UEFA.com. See confirmation email below. He actually sent us a confirmation email.
I know, it's amazing.
He's got 6 tickets. They were all £44 each. So there you go. He says, one of the most inspired decisions of my life. Needless to say, I was a very popular person as we won through the subsequent rounds and made it to the final. Look forward to hearing the podcast. Regards, Lawrence. Okay, cool. And on to Liverpool. We got a tweet from Robert Sherry at Politis_Ouija. Remember being in a bar in Leicester watching the Liverpool game and shouting at TV just as Big John gets the ball. Shouting, fucking shoot it, big man. I remember doing that with George Alberts when the Rangers were playing us, and I was like, aye, fucking shoot. Shouted it in the middle of the stadium, and he did, and it went in the back of the net. But I knew... so this is Chris, 1888. He says, I knew I was going to the final right away. I bought the public sale tickets before we crashed the UEFA ticket computers. And Tamrabam at Tamrabam1 says, me too, mate. I bought a ticket as soon as they were released. A good feeling about Martin and the boys. Okay, so we have a big one. No, that's Boa Vista. So I'll move on from that. Liverpool was special. My English team and my girlfriend at the time was a Liverpool fan too. It didn't last. Priorities, indeed, Chris. And we are Celtic at I Know Your Game 67. My daughter was born at half time of the Liverpool game. John Hartson scored. I screamed. My wife, new baby and midwife weren't impressed.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Ian Peter Migrotti at Ian_boy says, well, your pick of John Hartson sums up what what was one of the best football experiences of my life. Just superb. Scousers were fantastic all day. #Celtic. And we got an email on Liverpool as well from Martin Melly. He said, "Hi guys, after the 1-1 draw against Liverpool at Parkhead, tickets for the final went on sale. My mum went out, so I used her credit card and bought 2 tickets without telling her. For if Celtic don't make it to the final, Liverpool will, and I could sell them to a Scouser. Anyway, I went mental when we got to the final, only to find out it was the same day as my maths exam. After begging, I convinced my parents to let me miss the exam and go to Seville.
Amazing.
None of my mates were allowed to miss their exam, so I had to travel myself. I was 16 at the time, so fair play to my parents. A mate was going with his family, so I was going to meet him there. Sold the other ticket for £500, so that paid for my plane ticket and spending money. Still the best day of my life, even if I was crying at the final whistle. Don't regret it in the slightest. Hail, hail." Okay, so I guess that takes us on to Boa Vista. So on the 10th of April, we played Boa Vista at Celtic Park. We went into the semi-final with the possibility of, along with Lazio and Porto, so I think every Celtic fan was a bit relieved to be playing Boa Vista, who were having a bit of a torrid time in the league, but were managing to win all other UEFA Cup games. We start the game with similar team again: Douglas, Valharan, Balde, Miyalbi, Agat, Lennon, Lambert, Petrov, Thompson, Hartson and Larson. So no Sutton for this one.
I'll tell you why Sutton wasn't playing.
Go for it.
Broke his wrist. Do you know how he broke his wrist?
Wanking.
Nope. Well, not necessarily wanking, but he did run into Bobo Balde in a game. He actually collided with Balde and
broke his wrist.
And broke his wrist. It was out injured for weeks because he broke his wrist. But if he plays a bit part in the away game, and we're going to talk about that shortly.
So me and my mate, leaving the stadium, we nicknamed Boa Vista Boa Constrictor because we were fucking intelligent, man. We were like, puns.
That's a beezer, mate, honestly.
If I'd been on Twitter at the time, I would have fucking tweeted the shit out of that. Ultra defensive, probably the most defensive team I've ever seen at Celtic Park. And not only were they defensive, but they were really, really good at it. They gave up most of the possession, but we just didn't have enough guile to break them down.
Did they have much of a travelling support?
No. I remember it being tiny. I mean, over the years, there's not been that many big travelling support. I remember when we played the FC Tiro Innsbruck, there was actually one of them. They got a tiny wee corner at the bottom of the south stand, and one of their guys was conducting the whole time. It was just one guy conducting the away fans. It was funny. So we actually had a couple of handball claims in the box in the first few minutes of the match. One of them, the guy just slapped the ball down onto the ground, and we still never got a penalty. We concede first. They swing the ball in, kind of a nothing cross. There's not even much of a threat. Useful Haran kind of slides it, goes in at the near post, and Rob Douglas is just kind of left looking to see what. Obviously, this time it wasn't Douglas's fault. Just this time. So their goal was out of nothing, but a second later, a great goal from us. Cushioned layoff from Petrov in the box, and Larson just kind of.
It's a brilliant goal.
Aye. Larson slots it into the bottom left-hand corner.
I think it's a ball in from Lennon, and pings it, and he just cushions it down, and Larson just runs in and pings it in.
Exactly, yeah. So nothing much happens in the game until, again, in the 75th minute, we get a penalty kick, another handball. That's the third handball of the game, and the only one given is a penalty. And Larson does what Larson tended to do from the penalty spot. Basically, it was a perfect height for a goalkeeper.
He hit it too hard as well. I think he tried to put too much power on it, and it was too obvious. Yeah, it was right to Ricardo's right hand side, about maybe 3 foot from the ground, 2.5 foot from the ground. Aye. And the ball was saved, and that was basically the end of the match. We just kind of we couldn't create any chances. It was one of those games where nothing was falling for us, and in those games, you a lot of times you would question Celtic and just say, where's our creativity coming from? And it was only against those teams that you would do that, because a lot of times you were able to kind of push and rush past teams. But when they sat in like that, we just felt as if we didn't have that kind of spark in the middle of the park to do something. I mean, Petrov, brilliant player. Thompson, brilliant player.
but none of them could none of them really had the kind of like Nakamura or the Moravchik kind of ability to see a pass on and stuff like that, like to that level. I mean, like the way Alexander Hleb did for Stuttgart in the second leg.
Yeah.
So headlines afterwards were "Oh, Noah Vista," and this one was quite fucking surprising. The Pussies of Parkhead, essentially claiming that we had, instead of being lions, we'd turned up as small cats and not done anything. So, when you look at the daily record and on Celtic Wiki, every single player got a 6 out of 10, apart from Stellan Petrov, who got a 7. So overall, a very mediocre performance from Celtic. Celtic players.
Sorry to interrupt, but the standards were high now. Like, you know, we just beat Liverpool.
I mean,
a lot of teams, so the standards have been raised, and I guess it's kind of fair to judge them on that. And we've beat Liverpool over 2 legs, and then we draw with Boavista. Be honest, had you ever heard of Boavista before?
No.
Had anyone really?
I think that was one of the problems. The players and the fans were expecting to turn up and win.
Aye, that's when Celtic are favourites to win games, like we saw with Gladbach. When you expect that, that's when it can be a problem.
It's shit. Yeah. So the players and Martin O'Neill came out afterwards and were kind of accusing Boavista of shirt tugging, play acting. Martin O'Neill says that if it had been 13 minutes injury time, he wouldn't have been surprised and stuff like that. So the kind of consensus afterwards were that they were the typical foreigners doing everything they can to win the match.
Sutton's made the move. Sutton flicking it into Larsson. Larsson, edge of the box, tries to play it into Hassan. Larsson's got a chance here. Larsson! Goal! Henrik Larsson scored! It's a goal Celtic wanted! They are 1-0 up! They've got the goal! His name is Henrik Larsson!
We are on to the second game, the second leg of the semi-final, April 24th in Boavista, who are from Oporto. I guess that they are rivals with Porto as well, and I guess that's a bit of an omen that we're playing a team from Oporto in the semi, and then we're going to play another team from Oporto in the final.
You said that much more smoothly the first time you did it.
Shall I start again then?
No, continue. We're joking.
We do take takes on this. It's not all seamless. There is a process.
You don't want to see how the sausage is made, man.
Exactly. But Boavista were actually relegation material. They were 6 points off the bottom. I didn't look up where they finished this year, but they weren't very good, which was indicative of how they played at Celtic Park.
I'm pretty sure they get relegated like 2 or 3 seasons after this.
Aye, as you point out, we were playing a lot of these teams that were like doing very, very well at this particular moment. But they came to Celtic Park. They set up to defend. They got their goal. We went away to them. The crappy football continued. Quite a boring game. One of the most boring games in the whole run to Seville. Arguably the most boring game on the run to Seville. But it seemed to be quite a good day out for the fans. I watched a lot of fan footage and stuff like that, and interviews with fans. And apparently, Oporto was a very, very nice city. But some of I think there was a bit of a rivalry between us and them in the end. Now, if we were to go to Oporto and wear our Celtic strips, I'm not exactly sure we would be welcome, because the Boavista players did not like us. Martin Neal's post-match comments indicated quite clearly that he did not like them either. I'll get to that in a second. But one of their players, after the first leg, said, Larsson, he's a good striker, but he's not that good. He gets a bit of an easy ride in Scotland. It's going to be different when he comes to Portugal. And if I was asked to swap Larsson for one of our players, it wouldn't happen. I'm happy with what we've got, and Larsson isn't very good.
Because the Portuguese league is full of fucking brilliant players as well, man.
Well, having the internet at my fingertips, I thought, I'm going to look up the players that they had up front, the strikers that he said that he wouldn't swap for, and I looked them up.
They were Brazilians or something?
Well, not only that, Brazilians, right? I looked at their careers after and before. The guys that were playing, they were playing absolute mediocre journeyman wankers, basically. Some of them retired after this season, like with, they never get any. They weren't internationals. They were just playing like lower league stuff. Some of them were playing after this season. Were playing in the Lebanese league, and one of the dicks that actually started against us is now or was playing in the Chinese second division the season after. It's just to suggest that Larsson, obviously that's his opinion, but to to suggest that his strikers were better than the ones we had is just fucking bonkers.
If anyone knows, like, if you knew anything about Larsson, that's just. Did they think that was going to add pressure to him? Like
No.
he was going to wilt under that pressure or something? I mean, what the fuck would?
Exactly.
The thing about this game was I'd spoken about the confidence beforehand, but like even going into this second leg, I knew people from my supporters bus and that they were not planning to go to Boavista because they wanted to save money for the final. So even going into this second leg, Celtic fans were still thinking that this was going to be easy.
Aye, and it turns out it wasn't. As I say, it wasn't the best game, but Celtic obviously win 1-0 with the John Hartson goal. Again, John Hartson. The team, Douglas, Voharan, Baldy, Mjällby, Agat, Lambert, Lennon, Petrov, Thompson, Hartson and Larsson. I think that's the same team as the first leg. Sutton does make an appearance off the bench in this game for Lambert. It seems to be quite a common substitution, Lambert for Sutton or Sutton for Lambert throughout this run we spoke about in the past. This is when Larsson scores his 40th goal. In fact, it was Larsson. Who was it that scored the goal? Larsson? Aye, sorry, I said Hartson. Aye, Larsson's 40th goal of the season. I'm getting them confused with fucking Celta Vigo away, because Vigo and Oporto are like 2 hours apart. They're like in the same sort of region of Spain and Portugal. Anyway, Rab Douglas's birthday on this day.
Fucking many happy returns.
Maybe it was his 40th that day as well. Lambert took a bit of an injury in this game. He got hacked quite badly. Tried to continue playing and he had to stop and he came off and Sutton came on. Jamie Smith also made a cameo appearance, but as we say, Boavista weren't that impressive. There was only one other talking point before I talk about the goal, and that was Larsson missing an absolute sitter. It's not something that we have to say often, but Larsson had a golden chance in the first half where he is pretty much one-on-one with the goalkeeper. The ball's come into him and all he has to do is guide the ball in past the keeper. And he hits it completely wide, almost closer to the fucking corner flag than to the post, which is a bit uncharacteristic. But second half livened up a little bit. First half, you can forget it, nothing really happened. The only other talking point in the second half was, you're not going to believe this, but Rab Douglas made an absolute howler and sort of palmed the ball directly to a Boavista player.
I refuse to believe that.
He palms the ball comes in, it's like a shot, and he sort of just palms it right into the feet. Perfect for the guy. The guy hits a dig, and big Mjällby from nowhere slides in, steps in, the ball bounces off. And much like that one, not like that one, but that block Siminovic done last week, like he's just there at the right moment, the right time, bounces off his leg and saves Rab Douglas and saves Celtic. But Larsson's goals, arguably one of his most memorable goals. It was quite fortunate. Yeah.
See, sometimes when I'm having like a pre-drink, like drinking in the house before I go out, I'll just sit and watch that goal, man. Just put it on YouTube and just sit.
Over and over. It's a lucky goal because the way the ball bounces back, he tries to play a 1-2 with Hartson and the defender gets in front of Hartson before Hartson can get to it and then just passes it back to Larsson. And you're like, what the fuck? Larsson takes that touch and it's the classic sort of deft boot of the ball for Larsson. But the goalkeeper probably should have saved it.
The goalkeeper, I think, he puts his weight in the other foot to dive to the other side, and I think he just can't get it back across.
He can't. His balance is fucked.
I think he thinks it's going to go the other way, but that's one of the things about that. It just shows you like the way that Larsson could use any part of his body to get a goal. He was just so agile that way. Like he did what he had to do to get the ball into the net. It was a stunning finish, man.
Yeah, and the goalkeeper was he was an international. He went on and had
Ricardo,
he had a decent career. The mad Quagmire looking fella that he was, but
he was nearly crying after the ball goes in, man.
Aye, when you watch it back, he's devastated.
Aye,
he's devastated.
I mean, that's like I think Martin O'Neill has an interview afterwards where he was saying that he thought we were going to have to create a few chances to get a goal, and the fact that we basically did it with like 1 or 2 chances, we just couldn't create again. We just couldn't create against them.
Yeah, and then comes we scored the goal with about 11 minutes to go, and then is there a more tense finale to a game ever? 11 minutes, and then there's maybe 4 minutes injury time, and you're just like, for fuck's sake! And they have a chance right at the end. They have a chance. The ball is swung, and this is 93 minutes, 50 seconds, something like that. Ball comes into the box, and one of their guys has an overhead kick. Do you remember?
I remember. I remember not being that worried. Not as bad as other games, just because they would needed to have scored 2 goals to knock us out.
Aye.
But obviously, you would have preferred to go through in normal time as opposed to. But I know it was.
Do you remember the stadium?
It was a wee kind of brick, like what's that kind of brick called? The kind of grey
brick stones.
You know the was it the Huns call it Celtic Park? Oh fuck, can't remember the name of the brick. It's like big fucking sheets of grey stone.
Gyp Rock.
Aye, something like that. Aye, it's
Fraggle Rock.
Fraggle Rock, that's the one. Yeah.
Behind the goal where they had, Celtic were shooting 2 in the first half. We scored the goal in the second half. That side of the pitch was fine. That side of the stadium was fine. But the opposite side, there was a wall, just a wall along there. The stadium was getting. I think the stadium was in like development or something like that. So, yeah.
Cinder blocks.
There we go.
Aye,
quick Google. So yeah, that's it. We're in that goal. It meant everything. That was it. The players are jubilant. Fans are going. It's dreamland. Martin O'Neill. The players are going absolutely mental. Everyone is extremely beyond happy, and we're into the final. Larson again, and we're going to talk about him in the final. Unfortunately, we're not going to talk much about the final because we're going to let the audio talk for us. But we're in a final, and this would be our Lisbon, hopefully.
Seville season is still probably my favourite season as a Celtic fan, despite the obvious lack of silverware and the heartache at the end. We're so close to winning everything bar the Scottish Cup. The highs and the lows just made the season incredible, man. We watched all the games that we weren't at, and I think I made 3 or 4 of the home games in the UEFA Cup that season. At the Hall, at the top of Circular Street, because that was a local boozer. It's a mixed boozer, but it was a bit of a good luck charm for us. All the from Blackburn, Liverpool, Celta Vigo, just all those games where we just went through was a lucky charm. The Boa Vista second leg was unreal, man. The tension all the way through the game, everybody's watching it for behind the, through their fingers and for behind the sofas and stuff. And then that late winner from Larson, the mayhem and the final whistle was just crazy. The whole pub, literally the entire boozer, a few from O'Neill's, everybody walking past, were all outside and we had a massive huddle in the middle of the street, middle of Circular Street. There must have been there was over 100 people in it. It was mental. Traffic was stopped, and just watching us, jumping about in a huddle for ages. Because the games were on Thursday nights, we'd watch them in the garage. Coming out that night was just bizarre, man. You'd think we'd won the cup. The street was absolutely teeming with fans, hundreds of us, thousands maybe, just singing, dancing. And then as all the clubs emptied, the crowd just get bigger and bigger. I ended up climbing up on top of a bus shelter with another guy, jumping up and down on top of it, singing and dancing. But a female cop grabbed me by the leg as I was climbing up. She must have just thought, fuck it, and let me go. Stop traffic again. I remember looking up and across the street. My mate was hanging at a window across the road, joining in, singing along and stuff, and kind of clocked each other. I only found out a few years ago that the guy that he was with is one of my best mates now, Jehoda, who I met down here. And he's like, you're that fan. He's jumped on top of the bus stop. But it was wild, man. Just sheer, ecstatic, joyous, fiending bedlam. And we were in protection of the cops as well, who were just saying to the drivers, like, what do you want us to do about it? Went on for a good hour, man, before we get kind of huckled up the roads. Got to there, I got to Seville. It's a massive regret of mine, but I also remember not being able to watch the final in the hall because our lucky boozer, because the queue was down the street past the variety bar, and always think back and wonder if we'd managed to watch it in the hall, what would have happened. But who knows, man? Who knows? Brilliant season.
So let's look at some feedback from the Boa Vista tie. We've got a tweet from the Top Tims, who's at Kurt Schneider. He says, so many cracking Thursday nights out during that run. 2 a.m. night we beat Boa Vista. Top end of Sauchiehall Street was huddling.
Oh, sounds familiar.
Yeah. Chris, again at Chris1888, said Boa Vista, it jumped so high when Henrik scored over there that I scraped my knuckles on my mum and dad's ceiling. But I knew I was going to the final right away. I bought the public sale tickets before we crashed the UEFA ticket computers. And as I said earlier, this was the tweet I get mixed up. Tamara Bam says, me too, mate, about it as soon as the tickets were released. Right, we got an email. This is quite a long one. It's from Sean South, who I don't believe that's his real name. I don't know if he's from Gary Owen. So you just need to bear with me with this one. Alright boys, listen to the last podcast on Seville Run Part 1, thoroughly enjoyed it. Wee story from Boa Vista if you are interested, bit long-winded but bear with me. Flew with Harry Hines, my 10-year-old self, my old man and his mate who supports Leeds. Anyway, the trip started with a classic flight delay at the airport and everyone bar myself crawling onto the plane but in good spirits. We arrived and the rooms were 2 to a room. I kept with my dad and the big Leeds fan shared with a random Tim. Importantly, the reason the Leeds fan was there, apart from the obvious piss-up, was that he knew the president of Boa Vista. When the Tim sharing with my dad's mate arrived and introductions were made, the boy revealed he was ticketless and was about to go on the hunt for one. This was the Wednesday afternoon, game was Thursday. Madly, we were meeting the president of Boa Vista then to collect 4 comps for the corporate box. The Leeds fan told the boy the 4th ticket was his. We'd pick the ticket up tonight, away enjoy himself, and he'll give it to him tomorrow. In fucking bemusement, the boy says, aye, no chance. Big random Leeds fan offering you a freebie for VIP seems a bit far-fetched when you think about it, to be fair. So the boy didn't believe that this was going to happen. The evening went as planned. We met the president in a wine bar, got the tickets, and my dad and his pal got sufficiently bladdered. Next day at the hotel, hand the boy his ticket. Can't believe his luck. Then tells us he's bought one in the black market for the home end, €150. What a fanny. Obviously he takes the ticket we offer him, tried to get rid of the other one, which I think he ended up giving to another Tim for free. Cracking day and night followed. Obviously we arrived in one of the 2 Celtic corporate boxes and sat in the front row. After the buffet meal, my dad, Leeds fan and new pal tanned all the booze, while I sipped a Diet Coke and a bag of Munster Munch. Fucking Chris Boyd here. The Celtic fans were above us with about 5 minutes to go before kick-off. The rest of the box filled with bigwigs from the club in their 3-piece suits, etc. We're all standing in the front row, decked in hoops, taps and shots, and have tacked all the drink and grub. They were far from impressed, haha. The security had to get extra plastic chairs for a few important guests, can't you mind who. What a game and night followed. The grump cunts behind us continued to moan at us, standing, singing and swearing. One of them eventually put his hand on my shoulder to push me down. Mind, I'm 10 at the time, and the big Leeds fan, who's about 8 foot tall and his hands like shovels, was about to kill him. No more moans after that. The King scored and that was it. Cracking memories. And he finishes by saying, cheers, fuck the Huns, Sean South.
Decent.
Yeah, so it sounds like a good time. So, let's go on to talk about Seville.
European finals as feverishly anticipated as this. Mourinho for Porto, O'Neill for Celtic.
I booked in and out as soon as the Boa Vista game was finished. I didn't have a ticket yet, but decided, I think it was like fucking Thomas Cook or something, in and out, and in the morning, £400 out after the game. Student loan, which they're still fucking chasing me for. Paid for it. So my fucking big thing at the time was, I don't even care if I get a ticket, I'm going to Seville, it'll be fucking brilliant. I think it was the next home game, which was a night game. They did the draw. Were you ever on a supporters bus?
No.
See, for away games, they basically got your name on bits of paper and put it in a hat, and then just, if they had 7 tickets and there was 10 people in, they just drew 7 out. So I think it was something like 10 people were in and there was 4 tickets for the bus. So the draw gets made, and like the first name out is my big brother, so he's got a ticket. So obviously he's fucking celebrating and everything, and I'm just sitting there trying to like be happy for him, but I'm like just fucking looking at the hat, waiting to come see what comes out next. Next 3 names come in, it's not me. I'm sitting there, obviously I'm fucking devastated. I was nearly crying. I mean, I was only like, 19 at the time, so it was like a gut punch, man. So on the build up to the final, I'm still going obviously, but in the build up, I'm working in Tesco at the time, and there's just like these fucking cunts that I'd never even spoken about Celtic. This woman who was in her 50s that works in the fucking canteen.
Oh, fuck.
She's still at it, trying to get back at me now.
That's my bottle of water taking a dive off the chair there. Sorry about that.
So this 50-year-old woman that works in the canteen just comes up to me and is like, "Oh, I'm going to Seville. I've got a ticket for the final." And I'm just like, "What the fuck? How is this happening? All these people that are coming out the woodwork getting tickets." So gets to the game, fucking going to Prestwick Airport with my shorts and Celtic top on, fucking like -4 degrees or something like that. Get to the airport, fly to Seville, everything's fine. First thing I see when I land in Seville is like empty bottles of Buckfast.
Excellent.
So, I don't think I'm like. I think I barely met a Spanish person the whole time I was there. So we're just stoating about. We're trying to find my brother's friends, but as soon as we got there and turned on the phones, everyone was trying to turn on their mobile at the one time, and none of the phones were working. Like, it was basically a blackout in all mobile phones. Like, I think some people got their phones working, but me, my brother, and all my brother's mates, no one could get a reception. It was just like, when you turn on the phone, it just doesn't give you like a network provider.
Yeah, that's what it's like when you go to concerts or even Celtic Park. Your phone coverage is shite because there's too many people nearby doing the same thing.
Aye. So, I mean, there was people that were like turning their phones on as soon as the plane landed, but obviously because I was like a good wee boy, I was like waiting till we got off the fucking pit to put my phone in. So because of that, I think I just was fucked. So we got like a payphone and finally got through to him and stuff like that. So we decided to walk to this taxi rank. So I'm still in a fucking bastard of a mood because even though I'm there, it's just not going to be the same. Like, I know there's a fan zone and stuff like that, but it's just not going to be the same. So we're standing in the taxi rank, we're about 2 to go, and we get a tap on the shoulder, and it's just me and my brother, and this guy who's like, "Do you mind if I share your taxi?" Turn round, and it's Willie McStay.
Oofed.
So we're like, no bother, mate. So he comes into the taxi, and we're just talking about the game. And at this point, like, I think every Celtic fan was thinking Lazio were one of the big team. We're glad we've not got Lazio. But he was saying that he's done some kind of research on Porto and they're going to be a fucking hard team. So that was the first time I'd heard that Porto were actually good, because obviously at that age I was not paying much attention. And I was like, we were talking away, and I was basically said something cheeky like, "Oh, if you ever come across a ticket, let us know." And he just kind of goes quiet for a second. He's like, "Come over to Anil's about 6 o'clock, and I'll see what I can do for you." So at this point, I'm like, what the fuck? So we meet my brother's friend, and we're on like a rooftop pool at a hotel in Seville, and we're just fucking lying by the pool, jumping in the water and that, getting drunk. And straight at 6 o'clock, I'm down to Anil's. Paul McStay's there, Willie McStay's there, and a few others. And I just got up, I'm thinking that Willie McStay probably doesn't even remember telling me this. So I just tap him on the shoulder, and I'm like, "I spoke to you earlier." And he doesn't say much to me, he just goes and speaks to Paul. And then a few seconds later, he's just come back and he's got this yellow Seville ticket in his hand.
Oh.
And like, I nearly started crying. Like, I just screamed. I jumped to my brother, I was like, "Ah." And I actually jumped to Willie McStay, and you know that way when sometimes when you try and hug someone, you go the same direction as them. Yeah. So I almost kissed him in the mouth. So I was just like, "Oh, I can't believe it." Because I mean, he could have sold it and got quite a lot of money. I mean,
Did
obviously,
he give it for free?
I gave it for free.
Oh, that's incredible, man.
Never met him before in my life, and he just handed it to me. And so my brother's getting pictures with Paul and that, and it was just, after that, it just was such an amazing feeling going up to the ground, knowing that I wasn't going to be like this fucking prior, like fucking sent to the fan zone. I'm in a different bit of the ground. Obviously, I'm just sitting myself, but I didn't give a fuck. Got to the ground and we're just drinking all this beer, because these girls are selling us these beers for like €5 or whatever it was, pesetas, I can't remember at the time. It turns out they were fucking alcoholic beer, so we thought we were getting tanned on this beer at the ground, and it was alcohol free. So there was a cool fan zone in that, the bit where you could like play beat the goalie and stuff, and there's all that kind of shit running about. We were mixing with the Porto fans as well, but I wasn't really speaking to them because I was by myself at that point, so just went up to my seat. That was the first time they had like scan barcodes for the tickets.
Yeah.
So I actually had a fake. When I went to the ground, I had a fake, but before I got the ticket, there were people getting turned away because obviously their barcodes weren't scanning and stuff. So get in, and before the game kicked off, the stadium had sold out of water.
Oofed.
So there was no, like, this was like 35 degrees, and there was no fluids left. So it was a really the stadium had just been built, I think, and it was just all like really modern inside, but modern in the way that it looked as if it hadn't been finished. So I got to my seat. Obviously, the game kicks off, etc. Got about 20 Porto fans sitting just behind me. That for some reason they were mixed in with the Celtic fans. I don't know why. So the guy next to me, like he pulls out a Capri Sun, and I'm fucking dying of dehydration. He offers me a polo mint, so I'm sucking this polo mint, trying to like hydrate with my own saliva. Don't even know if it's possible. But last ketchup, the ketchup song, they're singing that at the start of the game. Brilliant, great event. And then when Porto score the winning goal, you've got 20 Porto fans celebrating behind you. I've never wanted to swing a punch as much in my life, man. I think there's looking back on it now, there's a kind of belief that Porto deserved the win. But seeing the stadium, and even coming out, see when we got to the airport and that, on the papers it was saying like we were robbed, and there was a real belief that we'd been fucking shafted. So like a lot of the fans were really angry coming out the stadium.
Yeah.
They were like, it was unbelievable. And then I fucking lost my brother, couldn't get a hold of him because of the phones. Ended up, he had my fucking passport for some reason. I can't remember why he had my passport. And I just got him at the last second at the airport. I got to the airport by myself and just got him as he was about to board his plane.
When was the flight out back?
Just basically right after the game.
Oh.
I had to run because the extra time had obviously no one had expected extra time. So
that must have been a horrendous flight back.
It was horrendous, like because you're still in the same clothes, you're hungover,
dehydrated. You've lost the biggest game.
Exactly. It was just the whole experience, the whole pleasure of it was just wiped out to a certain extent by what happened towards the end. And I mean, I'll never regret going, but that feeling, I actually can still see it coming out of the stadium, walking, and there's Porto fans kind of coming towards me, smiling and stuff like that, and I was just so fucking raging, man. Like, I was so fucked off because that was our trophy. I mean, that was our trophy.
Let's not disregard the fact that Porto were actually a really good side.
They were, but I don't know. We just, I think to a certain extent, every Celtic fan wanted it for Larsson.
Yeah,
because he carried us, and we wanted him to get something.
Aye, and like you posted that photo on Twitter earlier on, and then someone followed it up by posting the one where he's kissing the champions, the European Cup. So,
aye.
You know, I mean, it would have been better with us, obviously, for selfish reasons, but it was a difficult. It was the first and only, and the last time that I've rewatched the game back.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Paul Friel, and this is my story of Seville. I actually got my ticket the day before the game. I mean, this just totally came out of the blue. My mate had just phoned me. I was setting up a bar on the Tuesday afternoon. My mate just phoned me and said his sister was unwell and she couldn't make the game. So I was like, fucking right, I was going to take a ticket, man. I couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe how jammy I was. So after about an hour of trying to getting my name on her flight, we were off the next morning, and we arrived in Seville early doors, met up with my cousin Joe, and then we set up at the bars, slowly working our way to the game. I mean, it was absolutely blazing hot, and for some reason I decided to wear a kilt, which was a really stupid idea when you think of it, because the only pocket I had was this sporran. I had a Celtic top on, this beezer off a Celtic scarf with a Celtic cross on it. So the last bar we actually went into, I started talking to a Dutch guy who was a reporter. So I asked him who he was supporting. He's like, oh gosh, I support the Celtics. Since 1970 I fell in love with the Celtics. So I decided to give the guy my pure belter off a Celtic scarf. And in return I got another pint, which I couldn't even finish because it was time to move on to the stadium. But yeah, he needed something to wear, I suppose, if he was supporting Celtic, because he was going to be reporting on the game. Finally, we got to the stadium, and just before we were queuing up with the rest of the people, Mark decided he wanted to go for a quick siesta, because we both had quite a bit to drink, so this gave me the perfect time to empty my sporran of all the flyers and shit that people kept giving us. So any rubbish I put to one side, and important stuff like my ticket, I put up my kilt, I thought that was the best idea, but then Marco suddenly kind of woke up and moved up to first checkpoint, which was a kind of ring fence going all the way around the stadium. And I remember checking my sporting to get my ticket out, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And I kept checking. Mark was like, "Where's your ticket?" I was like, I could just feel the colour draining from my face, and the panic was starting setting. I was like, "Mark, I can't find my ticket." He's like, "You're joking?" I was like, "No, I swear to God, I can't find my ticket." So I ran back to the coach car park where we had this wee siesta and checked them. It was never going to happen because there was a kind of wind picking up, and all the rubbish was swirling about. So it was just kind of like panic was setting in, like, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do? So I decided to go back up to the queue. Mark was like, "I'll try and pass my ticket through the fence." So as Marco went ahead of me, got through, and just as I was kind of coming down, I was about 10 guys away, I could see the copper on horseback, and one of the stewards, it must have been some kind of commotion, he had to run off. So Marco's like, made his chance, ran down, passed the ticket. He's like, "Take a ticket." So I got down to the front. I told the guys, look, I've been in, been out, here's my ticket. And he's like, on you go on. So we got in. So then we had to work out, how am I going to get into the actual stadium now? So Marco, speaking fluent Italian, he was trying to communicate with the Spanish stewards using his Italian, Spanish sort of similar, but they just kept passing us on to the next steward, to the next steward, to the next steward, and finally came across a steward with a copper. And I just thought, there's no chance we're getting in now with this guy. This guy's never going to take it, believe us. So Mark was trying to talk away to him, and I was actually at the guy's feet begging him to let me in as if my life depended on it. I just kept pleading with him, saying, "Please, you've got to let us in, don't ruin this day for us, please. I've got this far after everything that's happened, please." And I think he must have just had enough of like Scots people in general or something, because he just picked me up and lifted me over the turnstile, and I got in, and then Marco's ticket wasn't even scanning for some reason, as if it was a kind of fake. And I think he just had enough for him too, so he picked him up and lifted him over. So the two of us got in to the stadium. It was unbelievable, and I think I couldn't believe it, man. It's like it's probably one of the best days of my life, apart from the result, obviously. But in the end, I was just kind of glad I got to see Last Ketchup doing post-match entertainment. But great day all in, and it's one day I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
So my story for Seville is not quite as glamorous, as exotic as yours, although I stayed in Glasgow, and like you, I was a young and penniless student at the time. Pretty much every neutral pub in Glasgow was a Celtic pub for this night. It was a festival, it was a celebration, and that's kind of what this is about, this whole run to Seville, and the reminiscing of it, and kind of why we do this podcast is to celebrate positive things about Celtic, you know. So the whole thing, result aside, is a celebration of Celtic and a celebration of things. So I watched it in a bar in Sauchiehall Street called, just off Sauchiehall Street, called Universal Bar. Now Universal Bar's just an average bar. It's not like a this or that. It's a neutral pub.
It's up near the garage, isn't it?
Well, it's actually in like Bath Lane, I think. It's in between Bath Street. But it's quite close to the garage. But for that night, it was, as you can imagine, was absolutely rammed. Sombreros, ponchos, beach balls, fucking water wings, everything going. So I watched it in there, obviously absolutely devastated, but the result aside, we're not going to talk much about the game, but I just want to point out that Larsson scored his 200th and his 201st goals for Celtic. And we also conceded our 200th, 201st and 202nd goals in European competitions, so there's a little bit of a balance with those. Obviously you were at the game. There were over 35,000 supporters in the stadium, and when you look back and when you think about it, like all the flags draped everywhere, it was just a sea of green, white and orange. And one other thing that's interesting, that was that we lost to the silver goal rule. Do you know that?
We didn't lose to the silver goal rule.
Well, it was in play, but
it was in play.
But because of the when they scored.
If it'd been in the first half of extra time,
exactly, the game would have been over.
Yeah,
but to think, this is 2003, 21st of May. to think 9 years before that, Celtic were in administration pretty much, and almost died, and then to go there, smashing teams, like absolutely pumping good teams along the way, and to get to the final and to have a right fucking good go at it. As I say, we played against a Porto side that had a raft of fucking amazing players that have been on to win almost everything everywhere else, and I'm not even considering the manager yet, Mourinho. They actually won the Champions League the year later.
Aye, that's right. And see Deco's slide rule pass for that second goal, man.
It's incredible, man. When you watch it back,
you've got who's it? Carvalho at the back.
Carvalho, Ferreira, Vitor Baia, Georgie Costa, Derley, Deco, Manish,
Nuno
Capuccio. They were, and as you say, like what Willie McStay said. I mean, they would have been fully aware of the threat that they posed. Obviously, Lazio or Porto, as we said, like Porto. As a city, Oporto, had you ever even heard of Oporto as a city?
No,
now people have because of like tourism reasons, but before like I just want to tell you a little bit of like funny stuff from a Portuguese newspaper that was translated into English and they put it into an English newspaper. So it's basically why Porto are going to win the game, and there's 10 reasons. The first reason is because Scotsmen like to wear skirts. Second is Celtic beat Boavista, and Boavista are really shite anyway. Third one is Irish whiskey is better than Scottish. The fourth is the idol of Celtic supporters is George Cadetti, and he was on Big Brother. The fifth is Martin O'Neill looks like an accountant, not a football manager. John Hartson looks like a wrestler, not a football player. Portugal has already given Celtic a European trophy. Of course, Lisbon.
Yeah.
Like Sean Connery, all Scottish people talk with a shite accent. Portuguese women are tidier than Scottish women.
Yeah, I can see that.
And Scots people still believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Ha 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 ha.
Apart from the Hartson thing and the women thing, it's a lot of shit.
Pretty much. But as I say, the whole thing about this is a celebration. That run, you know, as I say, we're not doing a step by step of the match. It's more about the experience and getting there. And we've done step by step for previous rounds, but obviously because we didn't win, we're being positive, and it's a celebration. Henrik Larsson, like a genuine god amongst men. Those two goals, how he gets up for the first one, how he gets it across the goalkeeper, and how it goes in.
Victor Baia, see when you look at that, it looks as if Victor Baia is assuming that it's going wide.
It's going wide, aye, and then it clips the post and goes in, and you're like, oh my goodness. But the entire thing is just a celebration of Celtic. Do you not agree?
Aye, definitely. I mean, looking back on it, there's a few things that make me bitter, which I'll just bring up now to get them out of the way so we can go back to celebrating. But just things like the way they celebrated their goals. Every time they came off the pitch,
they ran away.
Aye, and the third goal, the one in extra time, I would like to see that timed, because I think they were off the pitch for a good maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah,
they basically had a pile up, and like we were trying to take centre, and one of them still hadn't came back,
yeah.
And the biggest thing for me, I've had arguments with Celtic fans about this before, but Rob Douglas.
Aye.
If see for that third goal, even if he'd been a five-a-side goalkeeper and ran out and kicked the ball away, instead of trying to fucking dive on it, if he just kicked the ball, he could have kicked the ball into Rosette, and that would have been the end of the kind of the danger.
Yeah.
But he dives down to try and catch it, but all he does is he plays it back into the path of the Porto player.
That's exactly what he does with the first goal.
Aye, it just feels like we've put in so much effort to get there. Larsson's done so much, and then that fucking idiot at the back, man, just pay attention, man, you know what I mean? And I know people say, oh, he did this in this game, he did this in that game, but he fucked up far too many times to be. If you want to do a blow for blow with Rob Douglas, then fucking bring it on, man.
Right.
Celtic Rangers is Celtic Park free each game, every single goal. You know what I mean? So, and but apart from that, celebration of football, there was a Porto fan outside the ground that tried to swap with my Celtic top for a bottle of port. So I've been walking about taps off with a bottle of port, going back to Prestwick just with shorts on, and that would have been.
I mean, but to sort of round it off, like one of the greatest things of this Celtic side was the spirit and the togetherness and the belief that they had to win games, and you have to lay that with you have to credit Martin O'Neill and John Robertson and Steve, what was his name? Alford, was it?
Steve Walford.
Steve Walford, that's it. Steve Walford. Like, these guys had them right up for every game, and some of the audio, hopefully, that we're adding to this, you can hear some of them talking about it. But that season was an exceptional season because we won nothing, but we were doing so well. And Celtic drew a lot of admirers from all over the world for that, but that doesn't really mean that much. We're not really... Some Celtic fans want to be pals with everybody, but it doesn't really make a difference because Celtic is Celtic to us. I wouldn't change swapping a domestic trophy for that run and to go to that fight. See if you said, okay, you don't go to the final, but you get the Scottish Cup, I'd say nah. I'll take the pain, which comes with this positive outlook that we're trying to give here that we have. Like, it's not even trying, because you read back and it's just the press were actually very complimentary about Celtic. That a lot of press were, some of our regular fucking enemies were very complimentary. There was mass, like 20-page pullouts. We made headlines when we won into semi-final. The two legs, we made the headlines, the front page of papers and all that. And the Seville just represents a milestone for me in my Celtic history, and I was old enough to appreciate it, which is something quite rare to say, because most of their greatest exploits happened before we were even born. Like, some of our greatest achievements were, it's funny, like, people don't talk about the 1971, the 1970 European Cup final. We covered that in a previous podcast for anyone that hasn't heard that story, but Seville is remembered, like, it has this, like, deep meaning. I'm pretty sure people will go to Seville on like a bit of a pilgrimage, because I want
to do it sometime.
Yeah, go to Seville. It's as a pilgrimage. Like, it's the same. Like, Lisbon's, like, obviously we didn't win, and it's different from Lisbon. But I think there's something different about this run, and something different about what happened to Seville. There was no trouble. The fans won all these awards, and everything was just all fantastic, and everyone seemed to get a lot. It seemed to be the only thing that was missing was the result, but everything else was great, and everyone played their part. Even Lawson, even fucking Silla, and it's just an absolute highlight of one of the best experience. Like, the whole run to Seville, the whole road to Seville was just is an amazing thing to be proud of. It was class.
There's a great quote from Jose Mourinho. I know a lot of Celtic fans on the fans of him, but he says, as a football game, Celtic Porto and Seville was the most exciting football game I've ever been involved in. An unbelievable game. Every time I see Martin O'Neill, I remember I was the lucky one that day. An incredible match. I've never seen such emotional people. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
One thing that I would like to, I don't know if he ever listens, but if anyone does, remind him for me that when Billy McShane, who's the guy that ran the supporters bus, saw my face when the draw was made, he said, basically, you're guaranteed a ticket for Kilmarnock, the away game in the last day of the season.
Yeah.
So I was quite lucky in the fact that I got to go both games, but coming back and going to that Kilmarnock game, and then my bus dropped me off in Barhead Main Street, and I had to walk down Barhead Main Street with this car after car of monkeys coming from Ibrox shouting abuse at me out the window. Honestly, fuck, man, I just wanted to batter them and just say, do you not fucking know what we did this season, man? We fucking took on Europe.
And watching it back, there's a lot of videos on YouTube about the build up to Seville, and like, it was the BBC with Jim, what's his name, the Ginger Jim from
Delahunt?
No, Ginger Jim that supports Dundee United.
Oh, Jim, what's his name?
Aye. Anyway, it's irrelevant, but Rob McLean, all these types on like the BBC Live thing, and along the bottom of the screen has like like a live ticker thing, and there's just loads of messages coming in from people like, I'm a Kilmarnock fan, but Celtic are carrying Scotland just now. I'm a Hearts fan. Well, maybe not Hearts. Like, I don't remember that well, but but people texting in or emailing in just saying, I support this team, but for tonight I'm a Celtic fan. Like, please win for Scotland. Celtic carried Scotland. We carried
Big Jim Lackland was on our plane.
Jim who?
You remember Jim Lackland? He played for Kilmarnock.
Oh, Jim Laughlin.
Was it Laughlin?
I think so. Aye. But what's this other Jim?
Fuck.
Ginger Jim. Anyway, that's
everybody's shouting at the fucking.
I know.
Headphones.
And I do that when I listen to podcasts. I'm like, it was a fucking.
Fuck! I can't. I'm typing Jim into Twitter. I can't get anything. It's so obvious as well. Dundee.
Jim Spence.
Jim Spence. There we go. Jim Spence.
He's a good guy.
He hates the hands, so.
Always good.
So we're watching the Boavista return game, my mate and I, And we decided that come what may, if we got through, we were going to Seville. We had no idea how we might get a ticket, but we were going to go and soak it up anyway.
Yeah.
Watching the game, he's got the laptop open with 2 windows with all the details filled in. Got, on the one hand, flights out of London to Madrid, and we'll take it from there. And on the other hand, a hotel room, a twin hotel room in Seville, like gold dust. He's got it all filled in, ready to go. Ball hits the back of the net. I'm peeling myself off the ceiling. He's not. He's hitting pay on the 2 buttons. So we're on our way to Seville. No tickets, but we're going there. The very next day, I got a phone call from my boss at the time, who was also a good mate, saying, Freddie, I've got tickets to go to Seville. I went, fantastic, how many have you got? He said, 4. I said, brilliant, magic. He said, the only thing is, I'm taking my boy, and Brian is coming over from Dublin, and he's bringing his boy. And I said, all right, okay, any chance of any others? He said, well, I'll see what I can do. The only thing is we don't have a hotel. And I said, well, I've got a hotel. So
no tickets?
No tickets. So I'm sure there'll be a flare in the hotel. So we can come to some arrangement, get us a ticket. We get to Seville on the day, having come down through Madrid on the train. We get in mid-afternoon. They are even worse organised. They arrive in Madrid. They pick up a people carrier taxi at the airport. They're heading to the train station. The driver's telling them, city's mad with people trying to get down to, there's no train tickets available. So they say to the taxi driver, well, would you take us to Seville? They've not got a clue. They've not got a clue where Seville is. Would you? And the boy's like, to Seville? Aye. Anyway, they come to an arrangement. He drives them to Seville, okay, the whole way in the people carrier.
6 hours is
and the rest. He ends up spending the whole night there. He goes and has a kip whilst we're at the game.
The driver?
The driver. And then he takes them back up to Madrid in the wee small hours of the morning, okay? So they never end up kipping on our floor. Anyway, we get in mid-afternoon. I'm on the phone to Davey, saying, have you got any tickets? No. But we're here, we're asking about. I said, okay, and I'm asking at the hotel reception and everything. I get a phone call to say, Freddie, I've got 2 tickets. €1,300. I said, I'll take them. Give me them.
So it's for 2 tickets?
For 2 tickets, €650 each. I said, fine, brilliant, I don't care. I want the tickets. We're here, we're going. Come off the phone, I say to my mate, we're going to the game. We're absolutely overjoyed. And we go and we meet up with them. They give us the tickets. We head off to the match. After the match, everybody's got their story about the match. We come out and we're in the town. There, of course, we're spending the night there. So we're in the Gothic area. There's no pressure for us, but they're going all the way back up to Madrid in the people carrier. They're starving, okay? They've not eaten the whole afternoon, the whole evening at the game. So we find a wee restaurant. Everywhere's stowed with folk. You're stepping over folk in the street.
Literally?
I'm actually stepping over folk. Guys will know this, you know, but there was guys sleeping in the street. I mean, it was baking hot. So folk that didn't have hotels were actually just lying in lanes and streets, the cathedral steps and stuff. So you were actually stepping over folk late on to get home. Anyway, we find this wee place, and there's a waiter standing, and it's full of guys, full of Porto fans. And we're looking, and the waiter comes out and tries to usher us in, and we're sort of looking at him, saying, well, have you got a table? He ushers us in. We go in, packed with Porto fans. We're all on our hoops.
Yeah.
He takes us up a wee spiral staircase up to a room above, a room packed with Porto fans.
Blue and white.
And he shoves some guys out the way in the corner, and he pulls out a wee table, and he gets some seats out, and we sit down, and he lays it all out for us, and we're looking around, and they're all looking at us, and we're all looking at them. Anyway, heads down, we start looking at the menus, we order a steak. Next thing we know, we hear a ding, 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 ding on a glass. We turn round, and this boy, this Porto fan, stands up and starts announcing to the whole restaurant something in Portuguese. We've not got a clue what's going on. Then he stops explaining, and they all look over at us. So, what's this?
Rumble.
So then he turns around to us, and then in English, pretty good English, explains, I'm just going to tell you what I've just told everyone in the restaurant, and he comes out with this litany of compliments about Celtic. The fans were wonderful, the team was fantastic, it was a great match. They're as overjoyed they were for themselves, they're sad for us that somebody had to lose. It was a beautiful moment.
Aye.
He said, and what we're going to do now is we're going to sing our club song for you. The whole restaurant all stood up, and they all sang this song, at the end of which they raised their glasses and they did a toast to us.
That's amazing.
It was really touching. They sat down, so we all looked round, we're clapping them. I thought, well, come on boys, what are we going to do here? So, okay, I stood up, ding, 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 addressed the guy that spoke to me. I said, if you could translate to them. And I basically gave them a little speech in kind. And then we all stood up, the 6 of us, and we sang the Fields of Athenry. And the whole place erupted, clapping, they were coming over, wanting to cuddle us and all this sort of stuff. It was a really, really nice moment. It was a weird sort of situation where we're in this place absolutely full of Porto fans. Anyway, back to the ticket. How did I get my ticket in the first place? Where did this ticket come from? It took me a while to get the actual story. What had happened was my mate Davey and his boy, Brian, my other mate over from Dublin, and his boy, they land in Seville that afternoon. They're sitting on a terrace and they're whiling away the time before they have to go to the stadium. Brian says, Davey, you're Scottish. I'm Irish. He says, a fair number of Irish folk here and a fair number of Scottish folk. He says, that being Celtic, he says, there's bound to be more of you here than there is of us. So let's have a wee wager, €20, whatever it was. We'll put it on the table. First one to see somebody they recognise or somebody they know takes the pot. Okay, so they sit there and having a beer. As Brian tells the story, not more than 2 minutes go by when 4 guys walk round a corner, and he looks up and he shouts, O'Donnell! And O'Donnell looks over and goes, O'Reilly! So they come over and Davey's like that, you're having me on. Boy comes over, talking away. He's a mover and shaker in the business world over in Ireland. He's accompanying, the 4 men are the Chief of Police of Seville, the Mayor of Seville, a high hegion in the council in Seville, and this boy, a mover and shaker, organising stuff at that level. Okay, Brian gets talking to him, and then eventually comes round to saying, any chance of any tickets? He says, tickets, hard. He says, important, I need these tickets. Give me a moment. Has a word with the Chief of Police. Chief of Police goes on his mobile phone, mouths something to him, turns around and says, €1,300? And Brian said, take them. Meanwhile, Davey is on the phone to me, telling me the tickets are there. Okay, so that's how I actually got the seat. Great seats, by the way, as you can imagine, fantastic. We postscript to it, so they do the deal. Say, okay, the tickets will be here. There's a boy going to come and drop them off, but they'll be here. Don't move from this terrace. We've got a function to go to. The tickets will be here. Okay, so that's what they do. But just before they leave, the council official with the mayor turns to them and said, gentlemen, later on we're having a party at the hotel. You're all invited. We'll have girls. You've got to come.
Wink,
so
wink.
Davey and Brian, they're a wee bit embarrassed. They're really teenage boys, you know. So Davey says, well, sorry guys, thanks, but we are boys. And the boy says, oh, that's okay. There's plenty of girls.
Okay, so some of the Twitter and email feedback on Seville and in general. So Chris1888 said, had a week in Benidorm for that. First 2 days with Seville and back, driving through the south of Spain, south of Spain, beautiful views. But that meant we were in Benidorm for the league decider and we couldn't get our game on TV there. Watched it on teletext. So Benidorm must have been Hun, what's the word?
Central?
Yeah, Hun Central.
Hun Hochin?
Yeah, I've never been to Benidorm, but I imagine it is like that. Well, until someone gets Sky Sports Soccer Special working, never forget Nigel Spackman saying Rangers had a dodgy penalty. And that's right, the 4-0 game, the Celtic game, I think Thompson missed a penalty for us as well. Aye. So that would have been 5-0. Okay, so general feedback for the Seville run. Stephen Quinn, at Stephen Quinn 2, says, we went to Blackburn, Celta Vigo, Stuttgart, Liverpool and Seville, win nothing but what a laugh. And Robert Sherry said, loved the story that apparently a percentage of total air travel passengers percentage before the game was all Celtic fans.
I remember you bringing this up in the last one and you're like, we've no idea what he's talking about, and you're like, I've been thinking about this one, I've been thinking about that tweet.
That's for this. And Cameron Hutton at Fatpillow says, Porto broke my heart, indeed. So a couple of general feedback, not on the Seville run, but just kind of speaking on stuff that we've spoken about before. We got a couple of emails. The first one is from Mark Tweedy, and he says, just a wee interesting fact that we wore the broken hoops all the way through the road to Seville and our new kit for the final. In the final, we wore the button collar with NTL sponsor instead of the Carling sponsor, which started the following season. I just think it's interesting that people were relatively upset that we broke the hoops, yet it could be argued that we suffered a huge tragedy when they rejoined the hoops for the final. Just thought it was worth a mention as it ties in with the kits and badge pod from a few weeks back. Anyway, enjoying the pods. Keep it up, lads. Cheers.
It's a bit superstitious thing there. That's a sort of being in the upper game.
Exactly, yeah. And Martin in Glasgow said, "Hello, History Boys. Welsh wrecked after the game on Sunday. It suddenly dawned on me that most Celtic youth players are oddly insular, quiet types, whereas the Rangers equivalent are always the opposite. For example, players like Kennedy, McManus, Jamie Smith, David Marshall, Maloney, O'Day, Killian Sheridan, there's a blast from the past, Tierney, Henderson, they all seem well grounded, not especially up for getting wrecked or tore into the gear, almost alarmingly boring. Conversely,
definitely into the prop gear anyway.
Conversely, Rangers youth players always seem to be the total opposite. McGregor, Charlie Adam, Jordan, McMillan, Alan Hutton, Bob Malcolm, Barry Ferguson, John Fleck, all complete widos. Do you think there's any truth in this theory, or am I talking shite?
I mean, it's true. Like some players, like Maloney, and that. Like we spoke about Maloney in an earlier podcast. He was insular. He was like a little quiet guy, and David Marshall doesn't look like a loud guy. Some of these players, maybe there's something in it, but the Huns are BAMs and the Huns are deed. So
it's just a culture of Rangers. I think they're all fucking
entitlement issues.
Aye, exactly. And I blame the schools as well, I mean. Yeah.
I blame the schools.
Aye. Right, so that's us into
Aberdeen.
Cool. So Celtic won, Aberdeen nil. What did you think?
First of all, any result up there, I'll take it. I mean, the way things are going, you're like, you don't want to say I'll take a draw, and I'm not going to say that about yesterday, but any sort of win up there is good because Aberdeen are up for it. They don't like us. They are playing quite well. They are the second best team in Scotland, and we are playing a massive amount of games just now. Think about this: in the past 7 days, we've played 3 away games, and we've scored 6 goals. 3 away games. And we've won all 3 away games. One in fucking the hellhole that is Hampden against the Zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Went north on Wednesday night to play Ross County. Scalped them 4-0. And then yesterday we went back up. So we must have came back down, and then we must have went back up to Aberdeen and played them and deserved to win and probably should have scored more. So the run that we're on just now is amazing. It's incredible. And
3 goals, 3 games without conceding as well, which is really good to see.
I think we've got like maybe 5 clean sheets in a row in domestic.
Aye.
And so we're not really conceding many. It might coincide with the fact Tourie's not playing.
I don't know. I think it's more to do with the fact that teams just getting better together. I mean, I don't think Tourie did really well for us before the mishaps, but I don't know. Like I think it's a lot to do with just the fact that we're getting better as a unit.
Yeah.
I mean that Ross County game, we could have easily conceded one of the chances they had. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just good that Boyata's not in the team. I mean that's a bonus.
I mean.
A bonus.
Well, this brings us on to another point. Eric Sviatchenko, he's pretty good.
He's getting better.
He's getting better.
I think he's appreciating having like steady partners as well.
Aye.
Like, if it's not Toure, it's Simonovic. So
I think Simonovic is safe. Like he is reliable. He's not really made many mistakes yet that I can recall. You know, defenders like Toure have made large mistakes, and he's played. I think you'd be surprised at how many games he's played for Celtic. He's probably played over 20 games now, taking into consideration last season and this season.
Yep.
And he's very calm and assured, and he can pass and he can drive forward. Between him and Sviatchenko, we're doing okay in centre backs. But again, Tom Rogic comes up with that classic type of goal. He likes to score goals with outside his boot and likes to stroke them in. And yesterday was a classic example of that.
Tom Rogic for me is see when you get like players like Armstrong and Brown in the midfield with them, I think that's just going to be the absolute making of this team. See, as long as we can have runners beside them,
yeah,
people call him a luxury, but I mean, if he can do things like that, and it's not just, I mean, it wasn't just that. He had a great game overall. I mean, see that bit where he just totally fucking sold an Aberdeen player like the total wrong direction, and then he got hacked for it. He's a great game, man. Even against it wasn't Ross County. Who was it against? The Huns. Or the Zombies.
He's on a very good run of form, and people have been screaming out for a number 10. Well, there you go.
Aye, and I actually went over to an Aberdeen forum to see what they were saying during the game, and they really dislike Derek McInnes, it seems, but also they were saying things like Roderick's Celtic's best player, and the best thing that we could do is somebody taking a red card to get Roderick at the cup final. So it was interesting seeing it from an opposition perspective. I also thought that Moussa Dembele, for me, Moussa Dembele he's the best player he's the best forward that we've had in the 4-5-1 generation. I think he's better than Griffiths.
Different players
for that formation.
For that formation, but it's interesting that Griffiths never got off the bench yesterday. We just had maybe 3 subs: Roberts, Beton and Gamboa. That, bringing on Roberts and Gamboa is injecting a bit of pace, but then it's turning negative because Beton is as slow as fuck.
It was funny because we seemed to Rodgers seemed to make the Beton change to try and
slow
shore things up.
Yeah.
But as soon as we took Roderick off and put Beaton on, we seemed to just lose possession. We couldn't keep a hold of the ball. He's backfired a bit.
He's an enigma. Beaton's a strange guy. He plays with no urgency. I get that. That's just the way he is as a guy. His lifestyle. He's just a very laid back guy. But sometimes you need that urgency. But you can see why he's brought on late in games to sort of shore it up. But I expected more goals yesterday because we probably should have scored more goals, and to score in the first half and then hold off for the rest of the game.
There was some save from Sinclair. Top corner one.
When you see that again, how close that was to being a goal was just woofed. But that wee guy Madison that they brought in, he looks a decent player.
He's on loan from an English team.
He's from Norwich.
Norwich,
he's from Norwich. But we march on. We've got Gladbach away on Tuesday. We've got a very busy schedule over the next couple of months with the obviously still get Champions League, so we've still got 3 more games. Plus we've got the Cup final, and then obviously the Scottish Premiership games. It's a tough time for Celtic. We've been playing an awful lot of football, playing 6 or 7 games a month, every month since the start of August. So the rotation is there. And Wednesday we saw some players come in and do well. Paddy Roberts was just a bit unlucky to be dropped yesterday, I thought, because he done quite well. But
I've got a feeling Rodgers prefers Forrest defensively to Roberts.
It's funny, the shades or the echoes of Martin O'Neill when this Martin O'Neill side and the side are true, because you rightly said that O'Neill had a core team of players that he trusted, the certain players would come in. Seems to be the case with Celtic. We've got a lot of fucking bumf that have just been told you're not coming back. Boyata, Ambrose, fucking Chifchi. I mean, Chifchi, do you even remember him? We've got Chifchi, Leo Fazan. We've got maybe.
I'm still holding out that Leo Fazan will be our number 1.
Nah, it's not going to happen.
An Italian goalkeeper.
See, Celtic could put out 2 teams in that league, and the second one would do alright. There was a tweet from that fan, Roger Hanna, the guy that's in Clyde. He said something like, I think what tonight shows us is that the second best team in Scotland would be Celtic's second string. True.
I mean, there are. I don't like getting cocky like that, because you remember when Rangers had fucking Dick Advocat and they were there was an article in the paper about how they could put out 3 teams for different competitions and all this.
I mean, that's just people blowing smoke up their arse, and that was all that succulent lamb thing. But anyway, yesterday Armstrong was good, and the other podcasts have said it, so let me be the first to say it on behalf of us. Armstrong is clean slate. Clean slate. Well, Forrest, Armstrong, Brown. If they left in the summer, would you have been bothered?
Forrest, no, not at all.
Okay, now Brown's arguably our best player, arguably our most important player. Not best, the belly, obviously.
There was a wee unintentional dig from, I think it was unintentional because it doesn't seem like a Roger thing to say. It seemed like a wee dig at Ronnie Dyler. He said something like, when I came in here, I was assuming, I assumed players' positions from what they were playing the season before. So I watched videos back and saw that Armstrong was a left winger. And I've since discovered that Armstrong is not a left winger and his position is in the centre.
This is one of these eternal debates, like he was played at a position, but I played that position for Dundee United, blah blah blah.
Aye.
What matters now is Armstrong was played centrally with Brown yesterday, and he played there last season with Brown on occasion, and he was just rubbish. Now he looks more accomplished. He scored a couple of goals in the past few games. Seems to be that he might be the person to partner Brown from here on in, because Beaton is just prone to an odd mistake and he lacks urgency.
Aye.
So I think Celtic's starting 11 is pretty much it picks itself, but I think we've got a very, obviously with Tierney being absent, I think Izagiri is going to be fine for the, I know we've still got a lot of important games, but he'll be back for the second part of the season and hopefully we're chasing the treble. For me the treble's the holy grail just now. Like Europe,
Aye.
I'd rather have a treble than stay in Europe. I think that goes with it saying.
Yeah. It would depend what was offered. Like if it was last 4 in Europe, then I'd maybe take a double in the semi-finals or something like that. But for me, looking at that squad and the kind of the players that we've seen over the last couple of games, I'm not sure. I think I put it on Twitter. I'm not sure what Ryan Christie is. I don't know what he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
What did you think of him?
He's still young. He played on against Ross County, didn't he?
Aye. He just seems to float.
He didn't. I mean, it's a difficult game to bring someone into, like away from home.
Aye.
I guess maybe I'm being generous here and like try to defend him. I've got a habit of doing that, being too nice. But away from home on a Wednesday night, like away up there, he is actually from up there. To be fair, so maybe I don't know. But aye, but you know what I mean. Like he's put into quite a difficult away game, and he's not really had a rhythm yet with the squad or the team. I don't really know, but it's not really fair to judge players on these little cameo appearances unless they come in and score 2 or 3 goals. It's not going to happen. Like
I don't tend to like to judge players. That see when their team has changed so much like that, then I think it's hard to judge players. If Christie was brought into our first team, then I think it's a bit easier to judge him then.
Yeah,
because he's playing around the first team players as opposed to playing with all the reserve players.
Yeah.
But the best performance I've seen from Christie was that last game of the last season where
Motherwell.
He was up. He played the striker position, and I thought he played it really well. He was bringing players in and stuff like that. It was good.
He wasn't on the bench yesterday. O'Connell made an appearance on the bench, and I think O'Connell's brought in because he's left-sided, so he's probably going to feature on the bench while Izagiri is playing left back, and you might see him brought on.
Yeah.
But so 9 points clear at the top of the league. We have a game in hand. We are smashing teams. We have quite a busy schedule. Gladbach, then Inverness at home, then Kilmarnock, then Barcelona, then Aberdeen in the final. But everything's good, man. Like,
yeah, the only thing I wanted to say was about the alcohol thing. Did you see that? The Angus police?
Unfortunately, aye.
Have I mentioned before about the time that I came back from Germany and I went to the Motherwell game and I had the alcohol container? Did I say this in the podcast? Can't remember. No. I was back for Christmas and I went to the Motherwell away with one of my mates, and I was just walking to the ground where I bought the Magnus, and I didn't think anything of it because, like, see, office workers and business people, when they're coming back from work in Munich, they'll buy a bottle of beer and they'll go on the train with a bottle of beer and they'll walk down the street with it. And I just didn't think, I didn't even like acknowledge the fact that there would be a problem with that, because I'm a fucking civilised person having one bottle of cider, you know what I mean? And the police came and took it off me.
Did they fine you?
No, they just took it off me and said, you're basically what you're doing, kind of thing. But see this kind of the Angus police glorifying, and this essentially working class guys are working all week, paying their money to buy alcohol to have a good time at the weekend, and the police are coming and essentially stealing it off them, legally stealing it off them.
And the worst thing and the best thing, whatever way you want to look at it, for me, is the fact that they're unopened and they just happen to be like in the boot of the bus.
Bollocks.
It's just like, Like, how is that? How has that even got to the stage that that's unacceptable? Like, it's unopened, it's stored away, no one's drinking it because all those bottles. Yeah, it's mad. It's
one thing that just it angers me so much. It's like they're trying to police something before it happens.
Aye, thought police.
That's essentially what it is. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Like the best that I saw last year, I think it was. I came back to Scotland, and it was really about that time that we were beating Dundee United. Like we played them like 3 times. And
I
remember that
5 times.
So I went up to it was a cup game, and we get pulled over. The bus got pulled over, and the police came on. And the 2 of them walked up the length of the bus and then started walking back, and they were like, I hope these guys haven't getting a beer. And then they just kind of smiled and walked off. And that's the way it should be policed, because it's a fucking ridiculous law. And that's the way the police should be doing it. But see this fucking standing by as if it was like a fucking cocaine hall. It's so fucking embarrassing, man.
I know, yeah. It's some of the responses were great, but it was a cringe fest, multiple cringe fest, man.
See, what do you think Spanish people would say? They would say if they saw that. Do you think they would understand what was going on?
Nah, absolutely not. It's the same here with the you can drink in the streets here. It's not legal, but nobody cares. It's kind of probably frowned upon, but nobody really cares. You can walk about with beers. People regularly drink on a Thursday. It's quite common for people to get a carry out and just sit in the plazas and squares and stuff and just sit with, like, they actually buy ice and plastic cups and just sit down and get away. It's not a problem. So,
I think my friend was teaching in South Korea, and she said that was basically what everyone did after work. He went to the supermarket.
It's just that Orwellian state treated like pros, and it's one thing that I don't miss about Scotland is the way things are with that. But yeah,
it's fucking bollocks, man. It's just so fucking annoying. But last thing that maybe I wanted to touch on was Scott Brown coming out of retirement. Apparently, Brendan Rodgers said today that he believes it's just for the England game. I don't really want to speak about it with regards to Scotland because I don't give a fuck about international football. But what do you think, from a Celtic fan perspective, about this?
Well, I watched the post-match interview yesterday a couple of times, and his reaction when getting asked the question was like, "Did you see it?"
Aye.
He's like, "Yes," and like sort of laughed. He's like, "Back. I reckon it will just be for one game," which is a bit wide, but. He's in the form of his life, and it was me that tweeted the thing off the History Boys Twitter yesterday, saying that it's no coincidence that he's hit his best form. The fact that he's had more of a rest and he's not got the demands of captain in Scotland. So for me, I don't want it to happen. I couldn't give a fuck about. He wants to play for Scotland. He wants to captain Scotland against England. I get that, but as a Celtic fan, and first and foremost, and only a Celtic fan, it's for me. It's fucking a bit stupid, but. Nobody's going to be able to stop it happening, unfortunately.
No. I've got a feeling that Strachan's probably asked them to do it, but they've wanted to kind of frame it this way.
If he gets injured, man, I mean, we're missing Tierney now, and I mean, Tierney we're well covered, but Brown is like the catalyst for the team. He's the heart of the team now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I pretty much feel the same way that. I would just rather it wasn't happening, but if it is, apparently there's this England game and then there's not an international game for 5 months, so
good.
I think we're pretty much done with the season by the time after. As long as you get through that England game, then that's it.
Spain are actually playing England in the same week.
Are they?
Spain are playing Macedonia, then playing England. I think they're actually playing in Benidorm. Something tells me they're playing in Benidorm because Spain don't have a national stadium; they just take it around the country. So something tells me they're playing. I think they're playing in Benidorm. I know they're playing in Granada in a couple of weeks. I'm thinking about going down to see Spain in Granada, but
nice.
But anyway, so the whole road to Seville is over. It is over, and hopefully we've done it justice, because the idea is to talk about celebrating things in Celtic, or highlighting things of Celtic's history that people might not know, and this is one of the most obvious things in Celtic's history. But hopefully we've done it justice. It's going to be a long one. Hopefully people are still listening, because this point is probably well over 2 hours, because we've been talking for well over 2 hours. And I just want to say, like, the Twitter responses lately have been class. Like, some of the feedback we've had for this episode, and like the amount of people that have jumped up and followed us recently has been amazing. So we're almost at 1,000. So quite happy with that.
Aye, and let us know what you thought of this, because I was actually quite nervous before we started, because I know how much this means to so many people.
Yeah.
So let us know what you thought of the episode, and just any general feedback with the class, and obviously tell if you know someone that likes Celtic and listens to podcasts, tell them and get them listening. So you can always find us at Boys Abroad, at Boys Abroad on Twitter, and historyboys@gmail.com. And obviously you can listen to us through our own channels on Spreaker, or you can listen to us through the Hail Hail Media. If you don't listen to us through Hail Hail Media, then switch over, because we don't know how long our own channels will be going for, and obviously there's a lot of cool stuff on Hail Hail Media anyway. So
if you're feeling fancy, and it's all free, hit download on both. You don't have to listen to both, but download on both. And as Graham says, the Hail Hail Media is stocked with hundreds of Celtic podcasts. We must have we must be the only club with more than 15 dedicated podcasts like about Celtic. Off the top of my head, there's probably at least 18 Celtic podcasts, and it seems to be growing all the time, which is great. And
a lot of us started at the same time as well. I think us and like Colonial and NBR and Ball Boys all came about at the same time.
Yeah. And there's another one, Randallstown as well, which is slightly different from this to an extent, but kind of similar, but also different from other ones. So try them all out and see what you think. You can find us on Hail Hail Media, give us a follow, tell a pal, blah blah blah, and we'll be back in a fortnight.
Highway I saw above me, that endless skyway I saw below me, that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land is made for you and me. Sunny bright sands of the diamond deserts, and all around me a voice came singing, singing, this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, and this land is my land. From California Island, from the redwood forest, the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. dust clouds rolling as the fog was lifting. The voice comes chanting. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking my freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land and this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest